All right, hello everybody. We are here to talk about Jujutsu Kaisen Chapter 257. I have come today with goated JJK YouTuber Jaded Satoru. What is up, man?
Thank you, man. Thank you. You're goaded too, by the way. Everybody's goaded. But yeah, thank you for having me.
Of course. So we're going to talk about Yuji's power up today first. We're going to start off with that. What do you think Yuji's new power up is for his awakening?
Ooh, how Yuji's power up. So, I mean, the first thing everybody really sees is like, oh, the eyes, the eyes, the eyes. And it's like, that obviously it fills in with a lot of the foreshadowing we've gotten so far, but a lot of it is at this point just headcanon, right? It could be probable, it could be likely, but we just haven't seen any of it. For sure, he's definitely at 120% of his potential, like he was in Shibuya from landing a Black Flash. For sure.
Do you think he's going to get the guaranteed Black Flashes? That's what a lot of people are on. I know it's what Eternal Flame was talking about for a long time.
So, okay, let me put this into perspective for you, right? Yuji, from the very beginning of the series, right, has followed this theme of a lack of agency in his life, right? He's even the club that he wanted to join, the Tiger Club, right? He didn't even sign up for it. A teacher put him in something like that. Then stuff with like Sukuna controlling his body and stuff like that. It's literal and figurative, right? Yuji's goal of wanting to give people natural deaths being a thing that he's never once achieved because, like Gojo said, all sorcerers die alone. It's kind of like Yuji's world fundamentally took control away from him, right? If you want to give Yuji what I would say is like the epitome of growth and like the peak for his character to kind of have all of that just be opposed, have him control the Black Flash, the thing that nobody could, control. That probably just makes the most sense for Yuji's character in all honesty.
I think that's a good way to putting it. Like, I do think there was like a level of agency that has been robbed from Yuji, and Yuji is always trying to find a way to take back the agency in his life. I actually think that's a really good point, and I also think that plays into Megami, a character whose agency is entirely external. So like Yuji showcasing a internal motivation, which he's always had for saving people, but him having like a more physical manifestation of that. It's a good point. I definitely agree.
Oh yeah, I mean, if you look back in chapter 1, I was reading the other day and I noticed something, right? It's like Yuji's always had this like unexplainable physical strength, right? But it was like his gift, right? But even when he tried to use it against curses, Megami's like, "Oh no, you need to use cursed energy, right? Like you kind of need to play by the rules of the world." Which is kind of like what Yuji does, you know? He becomes a sorcerer, he's Sukuna's vessel, he kind of plays by the rules, but he never really gets that freedom, right? The Black Flash is, the strongest possible physical attack for any sorcerer. So if you want to contrast it that way, where it's like Yuji gets to use what he's always already had instead of the things that he got from playing into the world, that's really fitting.
Oh, for sure. And when it comes to like the Black Flashes already like inherently give you an awakening. Like we see in all the way back in Goodwill, that like the first time you hit a Black Flash, your understanding of cursed energy goes up dramatically. So if somebody's hit more Black Flashes than anybody, like an awakening being a result of that, I think it makes sense. I know some people were calling this an ass pull. Personally, like if people don't think Yuji's gonna like awaken, he is the son of Kenjaku. He's basically designed to coexist with Sukuna. To what extent, we don't exactly know yet. But I still think, like, he isn't natural. He's not like a normal born sorcerer. And that's a pretty huge point in his story.
I mean, yeah, it's kind of always been Yuji's thing. He's just a monster. But Black Flashes in general, I mean, I don't think it's a secret that they don't happen by accident. They're clearly like determination based. Like when you need them, you'll have a Black Flash moment, And it's like if you think about determination in general, this is something I haven't even really voiced this idea yet. But chat, you guys can let me know if I'm crazy, right? But if it is determination based, right? Like when characters really need to find it in their hearts to really like bring it out, right? That kind of sounds like the fever, which also kind of sounds like what Gojo's talking about when he says it's the humidity in the room that has something to do with the Black Flash. Like I'm just saying, like maybe the fever is related to something like that. Who knows?
I do love that Gojo brought up last chapter that, like, a Black Flash is not just this, like, mathematical input. It's not like 1 plus 1 equals 2. There is more to it. And I think, like, Jujutsu in general, to some extent, as much as like we power scale, so things are always like a little different. Where we're like, okay, what's the actual speed of this? But when you have characters chanting to bring back outputs, and you have, it's like a kind of a like things like the Curse Realm, there is a more supernatural aspect inherently to Jujutsu. So I think I kind of agree with the whole take that they are there when you need them, for the most part, because that seems like once you lock in, well, like once you kind of I guess like self actualize, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, Mahito hits a black flash and becomes his true form. Like if that isn't self-affirmation, I really don't know what is.
Yeah, Mahito. I think Mahito. I'm glad actually you brought him up here because Mahito is kind of like the front runner for a lot of the ideas we get with Sukuna now. Where now even the previous chapter where we have Sukuna getting distracted right before a Black Flash, that reminded me of Toto, slapping his broken fist and distracting Mahito for a second. And the whole "I'm you" moment, I think we are building up to something like that with Sukuna. I'm curious what your thoughts on that are.
Yeah, I mean, if you ask me, I think that's just everything coming full circle. It's like Yuji becomes more like Sukuna because he was always supposed to be like Sukuna, or at least in the sense that he'll get his techniques or whatever, blah blah. And it's if we want to say that Yuji, remember that whole thing I brought up before, where it's like Yuji kind of has to play by their rules. He can't really go in there with his physical strength. Like he has to play with cursed energy. So it's like if you want to say, okay, he has to fight this way. Now he has to fight with Sukuna's cursed techniques. There's really going to become a point where it's like, how far is he really going to go to be like Sukuna, like he did with Mahito, to actually win? Because what they're doing right now just isn't working.
Oh, I agree, and I'm kind of curious to see if we're gonna have the final power up for Yuji here. I don't really think so. Like I feel like the stakes aren't exactly dire enough for Yuji to have a like final fire power up here, especially with Hakari still like, completely absent. I know you're a huge Hakari fan, so I'm sure you
Oh
have
yeah,
thoughts about that.
Kari, dude, this guy is taking way too long. Like Uraume, they said Uraume was a monster and whatever, but I can't. Like they've been fighting for so long, at least chapter wise, right? We don't actually know how much time passed or whatever, but dude, to have this many rounds while that fight is going on, while the city is still being frozen, like that's not something that happens in 5 minutes.
Yeah, especially with how long the whole jackpot song must be going on at this point. I know Kyo Breeze said he's on like his 14th jackpot, and you're right when you say that he's like taking too long. It does kind of feel like Urame should be stronger, or like should be very strong. They call her a monster, like you said, and it's still this moment where, like you don't feel it because you don't see the fight, and you also just don't see a whole lot from Urame the entire time in the series in general.
Yeah, I mean, I said this in the video, but I just think they're at a stalemate. Like, I really don't know what to expect from the guy who's strictly hand to hands with the mid range fighter. Like, if Urame can just keep Hakari back, then what does Urame really have to worry about? He could be immortal, but all that means is that the mid range isn't going to be a real option for taking down Hakari because he's immortal, but Hakari can't get close. A stalemate probably seems like the most likely thing to be going on. On all honesty.
Do you think we're gonna see the actual fight finish, or it's gonna be off screen? I did watch a good half of your video, but in
Um,
preparation for the stream. But still, I'm just kind of curious. I don't know if you said it there.
mm, off screened. I don't know about off screened, but I would think that it would be a massive waste for them to go into that talk about humanity in relation to Hakari and for him not to grow on it. I just think it'd be weird. Like I don't really see Hakari just running back and Sukuna being like, "Oh, I guess your rame's cooked." Like, no, no, no. We need more from that.
The biggest thing for me that has me thinking, and I agree with you, like it would be a massive waste if we don't get to see any of it, or if it's just like I don't want to take up too much time. Like I don't want another Takaba versus Kenjaku scenario, where personally I didn't like that fight that much. I feel like it went on like the serialization was bad, and I
Yeah,
don't
I
really want
agree.
to
I agree.
reread it particularly. But in the case of Hakari, I have the panel on screen that he is set up to fight Sukuna. Like that is something they set up previously. So I do feel like we are going to get this 4v1 jump on Sukuna, though when, that's the real question. And with Yuji having an awakening now, if Yuta comes back from getting healed, because we know now he didn't get hit by a world slash because Sukuna's arms were unable to form the hand sign required.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, I've been thinking about it like this recently, right? everybody is going to go fight Sukuna, but they're not really fighting Sukuna together, or at least in the way that they should be, right? Like behind every single one of these like kills, or yeah, besides every single one of these takedowns that Sukuna's been having, there's kind of like this constant theme that Sukuna's been beating these characters at like their own game. Like Gojo's Jujutsu is like the main part of what made him special, right? Infinity is the part that kind of translated that the most, being like he can't connect with people. Infinity is literally infinite distance between them. And what does Sukuna do? He advances his Jujutsu and rips down his barrier. Higuruma fights with justice. Sukuna takes the strongest penalty and still walks away perfectly fine. Yuta, his whole idea behind copy is using the power of others to, make himself more powerful. He kind of needs others to fight together. What does Sukuna do? Sukuna wins a 3v1. Maki is the strongest physical fighter in Jujutsu Kaisen, and Sukuna hits her with a Black Flash, which is his strongest possible physical attack. So it's like, throughout all these rounds, it's like they're all just losing because they're fighting Sukuna at his own game, and he's beating them at their own game, right? Because at the end of the day, this guy's like the king of curses. Like, he's not the king of physical attacks. He's not the king of he's not the king of jujutsu. Like, he's the king of all of that and more. You know what I mean? So it's like, I really don't understand why they're trying to fight these guys one-on-one using their specialty. Like, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, the plan is a little questionable. I definitely agree. Like, fighting him one-on-one, like sending one guy after the other is just kind of stupid. So jumping him seems like the best option. There is the whole part that I think Gege Akutami does want to close off some of the character arcs and give characters their moments. Like Kusakabe just kind of shows up just to get bodied. That's really the only reason he was there, to like show a Moonveil Katana and then die.
Yeah.
Or maybe not die, but get removed. I think you're right in that it's a dumb plan, and we're gonna have a actual jumping. I think that's obviously set up. But once he actually gets the jump on him, I think that's when you would see a Sukuna Fuga, or whatever his technique is, because they say he's not going all out. And that really upset a lot of people. But if there is a reason he's not going all out, if we see like the true power of Sukuna, if he has something more, which we know he does, I feel like a 4v1 would be the time to showcase it.
They kind of been setting that up from the very beginning, if we're being honest. Like, Gojo's entire goal was to get rid of the loneliness in the modern age, right? So that way nobody would have to be alone ever again. The loneliness came from strength. It would be really weird if we had one character completely surpass everybody else, or just be the one person to take down Sukuna, when it's really supposed to be like all of them together and more. And then it's like, you kind of look at each of these characters individually. It's like, okay, let's say Gojo didn't beat Sukuna. One of the reasons why Gojo didn't beat Sukuna was because he never got rid of his own loneliness. He kind of just fell into the same trap that all of the other strongest people of their age kind of did, right? They're just kind of playing a part in Sukuna's game because Sukuna's supposed to be the strongest of everybody else who's alone, right? So it's like, all of these characters, Yuji, he's already surpassed Gojo's Black Flash record and can hit a part of the soul that Gojo can't hit. Maki's got greater physical strength. Yuta's got more cursed energy, and Hakari has faster RCT. So it's like, are these people really supposed to collectively jump Sukuna instead of just, using their own thing that they're special at? Like, it just seems like the whole thing of not trying to be alone doesn't really work if you wanted to have like even one of those fights win. Because then it's like, okay, if it's jumping together being the thing that would really take down Sukuna, that really does explain why Yuta in the 3v1 got the closest.
I would agree. And I think you do bring up a good point that they do set up the whole loneliness aspect of having the characters in the story constantly talk about, especially Gojo. Like, his whole dream is no one should die alone. And he's trying to reach Sukuna and show Sukuna satisfaction in someone else, that he doesn't have to be alone, or at the very least isolated, which I don't know how I personally feel about sometimes, but I kind of get the vision of where Gege Akutami is going. The bigger thing for me with the whole, like, them all jumping Sukuna is that it feels like history is repeating itself a bit. Like, everybody jumped Sukuna in the past, they all lost, that's probably going to happen again, but this time there's going to be, like, a big twist. I think the big twist has to be related to Yuji, I mean, clearly, and it has to be related to potentially Megumi, because Megumi's been set up now to still be in there, even if he's kind of, given up on life for now. I think he has a role to play. Let's move on. I'm kind of curious to move on to power scaling here for a second. Do we have, and I'll put this in because yesterday I mentioned this to you, people have been very much gassing up, like, how strong do we think Yuji is special grade right now? Alright guys, Jaded has taken a step back real quick. He'll be back in a second. I'm just going to put this in the chat for a poll. And I'm going to get some of these comments. They have prior to Ryu. Can Yuta come back and get Infinity with like some 6 eyes glasses? I don't think Yuta's going to get Infinity. First of all, like, you know, having the 6 eyes glasses would be funny. But like, it's either go and snag. I mean, Gojo's corpse would be there, so maybe he's going to like munch on Gojo and then come back. Get those 6 eyes, because if I remember correctly, they are still considered like a dojutsu, an eye technique. Maybe. Yuji is stronger than Maki and Hakari. I think Yuji's definitely a heavy hitter. I don't know if I'd put him like solidly above Maki and Hakari right now. I think Maki and he and Maki are fighting pretty, like, relatively similar. They're kind of relative. It's kind of hard to tell because the only character that says like, oh, these guys are like directly faster than me is the like Choso. Choso watches Maki and Sukuna dive off the air. He's like, I can't do that. But Choso's, he ain't that guy. Yuji's special grade, no debate. I agree. Like, he's definitely special grade at this point.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I see you're back. Yeah, we're just talking about the power scaling for Yuji here. How strong we think he currently is. Because this is a hotter topic than I expected it to be. So I'm kind of curious to hear your take on this. Like, where would you put Yuji among the heavy hitters?
So, Yuji. He has really good feats. Like, really good feats. Like, this isn't even really a debate. He blatantly just outspeeds Yuta in terms of travel speed. Again, inside of his domain. Which is like, it's a really crazy thing. His punches, obviously, are insane. He's hit a Black Flash, so he's just going to, you know, he's going to scale above all those feats that I've already mentioned before. But among the heavy hitters, it's kind of hard to say, right? Like, he's definitely not stronger than Yuta. The performance in the domain kind of illustrated that already. Sure. People like Hakari, a little bit more questionable, like, if we're being honest. Like, a little bit more questionable. I don't think the Yuji before was really scaling above Hakari. But 120% awakened Yuji, potentially what that might be, I could see it. It just depends, you know? What's he really going to get out of this Black Flash? What's he really going to do?
That is the question.
Scaling this Sukuna, I'll say this. It's like, no, this guy is like damn near unscalable. He has, first of all, he's weakened for like 3 different reasons, right? And then on top of that, he's also got an adaptive power level, right? So he changes how strong he is, obviously, depending on his interest in opponents. So it's not even like one punch against Choso would be the same punch against somebody like Gojo, for example, if this hypothetical Sukuna were to brawl against him right now. So it's like, how do we really compare something like that? There's not really a way to translate any of these feats. So, I don't know. You really just kind of have to go by statements, I guess. That's probably the safest option, honestly. Like, the guy gets weaker with every punch. Like, that's insane. Yeah. Like, how do you scale that?
That's why I think the best scaling you could do for Yuji, I was talking to Eternal Flame about this, is that Yuji's best feat, like you were saying as well, is keeping up or even outspeeding a domain amped Yuta in like without Rika. Obviously, I think Yuta is stronger than Yuji is just because of all the hacks he has, his technique. He has Rika. I think I would put Yuta as probably number 3, to be honest, in the entire story right now. Like, I know somebody asked us to give the top 5. I'm curious, what is your top 5, Jaden? Oh, he'll be back. Someone has come to pull Jade away for a second. Well, we will find out shortly. Sukuna's power fluctuates more than Ichigo and Bleach. Oh, yeah, pretty much. And the whole thing with his output being dropped, it is hard to tell how strong Sukuna is right now compared to like where he should be, how to scale off of Sukuna directly. But you can scale the characters that are fighting Sukuna and their performance against Sukuna to each other. And that's probably the closest way you're going to get these guys. I think that's the best way. Like, Yuta domain amped being, I guess you could say Ryu as well. Like, we get the panel where they say Ryu gets all the gas from Sukuna. They say Ryu is still strong. Ryu is still a powerful character. And I'm so happy that Ryu comes back as, like, just gets this post-death gas from Sukuna, because I've always liked Ryu, and his Granite Blast is cool. So
he's ridiculous.
Zebek puts number 1 Sukuna, 2 Gojo, 3 Yuta, 4 Kenny, 5 Kashimo. Is his top 5? What's yours, Jaded?
Top 5. Well, number 1, obviously, it's Sukuna. It's not really contentious.
Yeah,
Gojo, I mean, Uraume just blatantly says it's kind of embarrassing how Jujutsu High hasn't produced a fighter, but like either as strong or surpasses Gojo. I don't really remember, but the point is nobody's stronger than Gojo from Jujutsu High. So
yeah, undeniably.
Undeniably. Uraume, by the way, for all the Kashimo people who are gonna say, oh, but Kashimo's not a part of Jujutsu High, Uraume doesn't even really know that for real. Like Uraume just sees Kashimo as probably just another fighter that Jujutsu High has produced. So, you guys can stop with that now. So
she knows he got dog washed.
Yeah. And let's see. Sukuna, Gojo. This might be like a very political take. We can talk about it, chat, but honestly, from the top of the heavy hitters, I'm putting Maki Zenin. Like, look. The real contention is between her and Yuta, right? But
she does have the precognition, for sure. And he's been pulled away again. Yes, it's unfortunate, guys. It's okay. I'll cover. He'll be back in a second. But yeah, for my top 5, where would I put them? Number 1, Sukuna. Number 2, Gojo. Like, it's really the easiest top 2 ever. Number 3, this can fluctuate a bit, but I think Yuta. And then I'd say 4, Kenjaku. And then 5. 5 is always harder. I want to say, like, man, like Kashimo Phantom Beast Amber is pretty strong, but no domain. We have characters like Ryu who get gas. Yorozu is very strong. Her sure hit is truly one of the most diabolical one-hits in this entire series. You just get annihilated. Like, it is an infinite amount of pressure coming down on you. Yuta folding out Maki. Yeah, I think Yuta's definitely above Maki. But I think as far as the heavy hitters go, it's Yuta. I would say Yuta, Maki, Yuji, and Hakari right now. Only because Hakari's stuck fighting Uraume. That's really the only reason.
Okay, that's the last time, chat. I swear, that's the last time I'm gonna be pulled away. But, okay, let me finish up what I was saying before, because I'm not gonna lie, leaving on that note is kind of crazy.
Come back to the Maki.
So, Maki being the leader of the heavy, not the leader, but the strongest of the heavy hitters, right? Now, first of all, I think all the heavy hitters should be around the same level. Let me say that. I don't think there's like a massive like blitz level gap between them or anything like that, blah, blah, right? If you just look at the statement that Quirkless Shinobi has on screen, Kenjaku thinks that all the heavy hitters are going to go jump Sukuna, right? They're all going to go fight together and they're all going to go jump Sukuna. That wouldn't be possible if there was a massive gap between them, right? People in JJK can't fight together unless they're kind of like around the same level. We kind of see that with Gojo compared to everybody else, where it's like anybody else would just hold them back. So they should all be around the same level. Other portrayal and, other stuff of like the next generation, nobody's going to be left alone in loneliness, blah, blah. It doesn't even really make sense for one of the heavy hitters to be massively above the other one. You know what I mean? So let me preface that by saying they're all around the same level for a ton of reasons, right? It just comes down to Arsenal. It's like when you take Yuta and Maki, first of all, Maki's got precog that can detect people who are blitz level above precog. Like, how do you compete with that? Like, okay, you guys are all around the same level, except this person has precog that can see blitz level attacks. Like, what's really gonna hit Maki, right? But even aside from that, does Yuta really even have any win cons? He can't domain expansion against Maki. Curse speech is probably like the best option you can argue for. But even then, in Volume 0, Yuta implies that there's some sort of targeting with curse speech. He says he has to aim the cursed energy, and it's why he praises Inumaki in the first place. So it's like, not only is there a targeting system, which is based on sound, by the way, because cursed speech is just sound, and Maki is Mach 3, but it seems to be cursed energy-based targeting, which obviously wouldn't work on somebody like Maki. So we have this speed of sound level attack, right, being cursed speech, against somebody who's Mach 3, and then on top of that,
outruns
it's like
the cursed speech. That would be kind of crazy. Yeah.
It's like, and then on top of that, it's cursed energy based targeting. So it's like cursed speech is probably not even really gonna work. What really else? I think Thin Icebreaker is probably his best option, but it's like, okay, you guys are around the same level, but this person can precog blitz level attacks. Like, how are you gonna land that?
think I agree with you when you say they're all pretty close to each other. I think we even see that in Yuji keeping up with a domain amped Yuta, and now Maki is keeping up with Yuji, so she should be doing the same thing in Yuta's domain, in my opinion. Like, I think Yuta wins. I think Yuta's the strongest overall against like 90% of people, just because Yuta has a very good domain. And though it doesn't work against Maki, like Yuta's domain works against pretty much everybody else. So he is their most useful tool currently, unless we see, like, besides Yuji's soul punches against Sukuna. That's where I would stand on that. But like, as far as characters, like you said, having this perception blitz, this blitz gap, I agree. There isn't like this huge physical dump over the other characters for the most part. They're all pretty close.
There really can't be. Like, Gojo's whole idea is for nobody to be left alone, and the idea of being left alone is completely related to strength. And I know somebody in chat said that Volume 0 Yuta isn't even comparable to the Yuta now. I didn't bring them up to say that they're similar in power. It's the fact that he makes cursed speech sounds like it's cursed energy based targeting, where he's like, oh, it's hard to pinpoint the cursed energy. Because Yuta's also able to use cursed speech on things that he can't see, right? So it's definitely not like the cursed speech is just traveling in like a straight line or anything like that. Like, it's a speed of sound based attack that's clearly using cursed energy. It's like, how is that going to affect Maki?
Yeah, I think more so. I think they're good. Like, they all have their benefits in this team, for sure. I haven't actually thought about the actual fight between Maki and Yuta all that much. And generally, the scaling I've done recently has been for Yuji, because Yuji's in the forefront, and Yuta against characters like, let's say, Kenjaku, or who else would it be? I know Plank's a big Kenjaku fan in chat, so he'll always be here to rep him. But overall, I still put Yuta as number one of the heavy hitters. I think that's just how he's portrayed. I think the biggest part of that currently is that he has had the most showcases of the heavy hitters currently, besides like Yuji, and Maki is getting more. Like, she is there impaling Sukuna against a wall. She is there jumping into the domain, getting behind Sukuna. She's fast. Like, I think she's probably the fastest of all of them, even if she's kind of close to like Yuji. I don't know what your opinion on that would be, though.
I mean, there's I saw somebody in chat say it, that Yuta was their insurance, so he should be like the strongest or whatever. Yuta's considered the insurance because he's the only guy with a real working domain that they can use. But he's also the only guy with Angel's sure hit, besides Angel, who we don't even know has a domain. So it's like, that's really their only way to really save Megami. Like, that was the entire plan. And some people were like, oh, well, why didn't Yuta just turn on the sure hit from the start or whatever, blah blah. They figured that by weakening Sukuna, they would increase Megami's survival chances, right? So they got him to the point where he'd basically be as weak as possible for them to have a good chance of saving Megami. And I mean, they got pretty close. It was just the fact that Megami gave back up again.
I think you're onto something there. And I think it was Kaio Breeze who also mentioned what you're saying here, that they had to weaken Sukuna. And we actually disagree. I disagreed with him on this initially, but like, the more I've read it, I agree that the nerfed punches from Yuji hitting on Sukuna, weakening the connection to the soul, it's not just saving Megami, but also just might make the objective of destroying the cursed object that is Ryoma and Sukuna at this point more effective. Because Jacob's Ladder, it's pinpointing the cursed object, and if their souls are like totally merged, and he has a total control over the body, it might be harder. I believe that's what Kaio was saying. I'm kind of curious to see your opinion on that, though.
I mean, it's not really as much of an interpretation as as much as like it's stated, but I can grab it.
Like, the weakened hold over the body, pretty necessary. Like, I think Yuji is putting in work. Like, absolutely just putting the hands on this guy.
Oh yeah.
What do you think about the blood manipulation for Yuji Todori?
So, I have an interesting idea for Yuji's blood manipulation, and chat, open up your minds for a second to the idea that, what if Yuji isn't actually manipulating blood like everybody else, right? He does a lot of things with blood manipulation that you'd be like, oh, I wonder why he'd be doing that if he was like your conventional blood manipulation user. Now, I was also thinking, I'm like, there's not really much of a narrative reason for Yuji having blood manipulation. Like, everybody's curse technique kind of reflects something about them. Yuji's doesn't really, right? So, I'm not saying it's impossible, right? But what if Yuji, the curse technique wasn't ingrained inside of him, but it was ingrained in these mysterious curse tools? Because that's been a thing in this arc. It's the first time we've ever seen it with Nanami's curse tool. So, Yuji does a bunch of things, like, For example, he never manipulates the blood from his own body, right? As in like Choso does, where he just makes the blood and then just like shoots it out at people. Yuji has to spit it out before he uses it on Sukuna to do supernova. He grabs blood from Choso in the recent chapter before he does convergence. So it's like little things like that. Like they just make me wonder. It's like, why would he be grabbing blood from Choso if he can just, use blood manipulation like everybody else? Like that doesn't really make a lot of sense. And then it's like, what are these gauntlets even for? Why is he even having blood manipulation? Is that even really fitting? He's supposed to have Sukuna's curse technique. Like there's narrative investment in that. Like blood manipulation? No, not really.
I think for the blood manipulation, I think the way I interpreted excuse me. The way I interpreted this is that we have him eating the Death Moon paintings, and that's how we got the blood manipulation. At least like a lesser version of the blood manipulation than, let's say, Choso, who is like the strongest of all the Death Moon paintings. But now we see, I think you're right, that the arms are completely unexplained for a reason, because Gege Akatame is setting up something with them. Like we are waiting for a big reveal as like what Yuji actually has. Because the arms being unexplained is just weird to me, still. Especially if we're dealing with the whole event of these guys jumping in. Like everyone else's powers get explained, and Yuji is still fighting alongside, like a full panel spread of having Yuta's domain explained, and we still don't know what his arms do. It's kind of odd to me. I mean, you might be right that he doesn't have. It's something ancillary that's giving him the blood manipulation, and it's not just something he innately has now.
LeBron James said enough with the curse tool argument. He used supernova with his own blood. Yeah, but he uses it after like spitting it out of his own body. It's like blood manipulation users could do that, but it's just like they do it in a more, I guess, a more natural way. Like they don't get socked in the face and then spit up blood and then do like supernova. Like no, that's kind of foreign.
It did look like he ate something. He bit his own arm before they went into the fight with like Higuruma. I'll see if I can't pull that up for a second here. Because the arms, like, they might have something attached to it, like, attached to the back of them that he can eat. Maybe they have, like, little curse tools. Here, I'll pull it up.
Could be.
Because he's eating cursed objects. I think that's pretty clear. It looks like in this panel that he was biting his arm for a reason we have not had revealed yet. I should be up on the screen in a second for you. But I'm curious to we're going to put some random power scaling things here. Let me end this poll. So most people think Yuji's special grade. Like, yeah, I agree. Let's get the toxic one. Yuta versus Kenjaku. Yeah, we see there on the screen, we have Yuji biting his arm. They don't explain this at all to us. Granted, it is a coloring, so it might be a little different than like the full panel, but it's still the same movement.
Still just.
Let me just get this poll out. Oh, whoops. That's not the poll I wanted. Let me end that one. Let me re-chat for a second, see if anyone has anything interesting to say here. Kenjaku manipulated Yuji's brain to possibly be a vessel. Junpei was given CT. Junpei did have an awakened CT from Mahito. So we do know like that is an option. But like Yuji as a vessel, my personal headcanon for this is that Yuji is pretty much like Sukuna. Like they have a 1-to-1 power set. In that Sukuna also eats cursed objects, and that's how he gains some of his powers, whether or not he was innately born with these. I know they talk about, like, oh, his CT will engrave itself in Yuji eventually, but maybe he didn't have a CT initially. We'll see. Sukuna's mystery is a big thing in the story, like how this guy gets so strong. So you could be right that like the whole blood manipulation is something different.
Yeah, I think it being the curse tools would. I mean, I would like it better, honestly. I would prefer if that wasn't Yuji's ingrained curse techniques. Like, I get it. Like, it's his brother's techniques and whatever, but we see from other people who, like, steal techniques from people, like, they have a reason for, like, using a whole bunch of other people's techniques. Like, Yuta, for example, his whole thing is, like, using the power of others, like him and Rika. It's like reflected through his technique. But it's like there's really no reflection with like Yuji and blood manipulation. Like there's nothing really about Yuji's character. Like Choso is always like, he's like, oh, like my brother's like blood is thicker than water type stuff, right? It's like he makes sense. Kamo too. Kamo's a big family person, right? He cares for his family more than ever again. Blood is thicker than water, that theme is there too. But Yuji doesn't really have something like that, like it's not really fitting.
Yeah, blood manipulation. I've never been a big fan of it, to be honest. Like, it's always been my least favorite of all the power sets you can have. I just think it's like a more boring water bending for me. I know people love convergence. I know this might be a hot take. I just think blood manipulation is boring. And like Yuji's big reveal being blood manipulation, I hope not. I really hope that's not all he gets because I'd be very disappointed personally.
Yeah, I mean, Sukuna's curse technique. So here's the interesting part, right? We kind of got reminded and like further confirmed in the recents that Gojo can 100% with the 6 eyes see ingrained curse techniques and even find out how they work and see them to extreme detail, right? And he looks at Yuji and says, "Oh, later your body is gonna learn Sukuna's curse technique," right? He's not getting that information out of anybody who's been a vessel before in the past, who's gotten some curse technique or whatever, because Yuji has never before been seen, right? But what is Gojo really thinking in his head, right? That says, "Oh, this guy's gonna awaken Sukuna's curse technique." Is it possible that he looked at Yuji and said, "Oh, I can already see the technique is growing like just a bit, whatever, blah blah," right? I don't think that's crazy. I mean, the guy has an ability that can see through techniques and stuff.
Oh,
So
for
it's like, why
sure.
really is he saying that stuff? It could be that Yuji's always technically had Sukuna's curse technique. It just hasn't really manifested itself. Kind of like how kids don't get their curse techniques until they're like 5 or 6.
Yeah, like with Kenjaku's brain falling out of his head as a toddler. That's what I always thought. Like, can you imagine you're Kenjaku's parents and you just see like your kid comes in, and he's a brain.
I would be so petrified, dude. Like,
Dude, what a horrifying technique. Megumi gets a dog and like this kid's just a brain. But I think you might be right there that Sukuna. Well, they say that a vessel like Yuji comes once every 1,000 years. So if there is somebody like Yuji in the past, there's no way that anyone alive today has seen it besides maybe Kenjaku. My personal headcanon here, I'm gonna go like all into headcanon, just how I feel, in that I think Sukuna was probably the first one. If it is 1,000 years ago, I wouldn't be surprised Sukuna is a vessel just like Yuji, especially with the way he's talking about eating things now, like the flavors of techniques. It could be like an etching, but then again, even if it is an etching, it would be because Yuji ate a cursed object, and if he ate cursed objects again, even if it's not a Sukuna finger this time, well, he's going to gain their power. And I remember Gege Akatame, actually I pulled it up on screen, Gege Akatame once mentioned the death paintings, that Sukuna being inside of Yuji was stopping him from gaining power from other cursed objects, because Sukuna would just consume the power himself. But now that he is gone, he is able to fully interact with his own power set, which is kind of interesting. I'll see if I can't find that. I had it here somewhere.
I'm 99% sure that's in the fan. At least I think it.
That was
Here,
a
we can
Q&A.
definitely check that.
It was in the fan book, I'm pretty sure.
Here.
Yeah, this one. This was the Gege Akatame character Q&A. This is the whole thing, but... So what happens when Yuji, if Itadori, who is highly resistant to curses, eats a death painting womb? They say either Sukuna's current state becomes like that of a death painting womb, or the object itself becomes cursed energy within Itadori as the life force of the death painting womb disappears within him. If Itadori ingests it after he is already a host for Sukuna, the death painting womb will just be obliterated by Sukuna within Itadori. So it sounds like Sukuna is limiting Yuji if he's in him, which makes sense, personally. If you have more information on that, like it's not true.
No, I mean, it definitely makes sense. It's kind of funny because when they say like, okay, the death paintings themselves, they're like they have their own souls and stuff. And it's like when Yuji ingests Sukuna, he's really just like not absorbing, but he's kind of like retaining another soul. So it's like the death painting would enter Yuji, right? Theoretically being like Sukuna, like another soul, but Sukuna would just obliterate that soul, which is kind of crazy when you think about it. Because it's like he's not we've seen people damage souls before, but destroying one completely, that's kind of insane.
Yeah, him eating the soul when it comes in, that would be pretty nuts. Like, he's just pretty much a little leech in there, isn't he? If that were the case. But
Oh yeah.
destroying a soul entirely and just turning it into cursed energy, that's pretty nuts. Let's see, I think... Let's let me the chat for a second. I think Sukuna will kill everyone when we get the exposition we crave from the interview and not the story itself. Yeah, that's how it feels like half the things in Jujutsu Kaisen. Doesn't it?
It's a pace problem. It's like but I kind of get why, but I don't get why. Because well, I personally think that the reason why Gege had that one chapter long month time skip before Gojo and Sukuna, I mean, I don't think it's a coincidence that Gojo and Sukuna happened when season 2 was happening. I kind of thought that for like a little bit of weeks before. But I mean, look, Gege, whether you like it or not, he knows how to write the manga and he knows what to release to get the most hype and to get the most attention. Because at the end of the day, like it is like a money thing. Like Gojo vs Sukuna happening when the anime was going on was probably something he planned for a while.
Oh, it's definitely a money thing. It is. It's not a free entertainment, but it's also, especially the whole Gege Akutami didn't want to make Jujutsu Kaisen until his editors were like, "Hey, that volume thing you made, that volume 0, that was popping. Get back to work." I would say when it comes to the pacing thing, you're also correct that the whole Gojo versus Sukuna happening while like the anime was going on, and Gojo dying the same week that Gojo gets sealed, that has to be, it
Oh
has to
yeah,
be on purpose. There's no way it's not.
has to be. Look, Gege is looking at Google Trends just as much as any other content creator. Like I'm just gonna be honest.
Yeah, JJK peaked. I think it was was definitely Eisen said that, it's gonna be the biggest year for JJK last year, and it was. I don't think JJK is ever gonna get a bigger year. It's gonna have the ending of the manga will probably bring in some people, and then the very end of the next season of the anime and the finale of the anime. But after that, I don't know if Gege Akutami wants to go any further with it. It really seems like Gege is kind of tired, not tired of writing it, but they don't want to take it further because it's not like their greatest passion, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I never got that about. Well, some mangakas actually like they're kind of dialed in, chat, when it comes to like just making manga to make money. Like personally, that's why I think One Piece is an ending. The joke isn't on you. The One Piece is what Oda's putting in his pocket, guys. That's the real One Piece. Like he's got the infinite money glitch, and we are all the method.
The infinite money glitch. Yeah, that's why they copyright strike everyone who talks about One Piece. Can't let them. Can't. That's his bag and only his bag.
Exactly.
He writes a story about pirates, but you can't be one.
Like I'm telling you, they're gonna get to the final island. They're gonna say, "Oh my God, it's the key. Is this the key to the One Piece?" They're gonna go look for the One Piece chest. You don't understand. I will literally be rolling on the floor if that happened. Like I would actually like, I'd be okay with dying right then and there. Like I've been fulfilled. Like wow, that's really great.
It's a portal to a new manga. It's One Piece 2, 2 piece.
Two piece.
Let's see. Didn't JJK eclipse One Piece for 2023? I think the Guinness records covered it. I mean, One Piece gets surpassed in the actual sales occasion. Maybe not sales total, but definitely not sales total, but in popularity, like monthly sometimes. Demon Slayer did it. I was never a big fan of Demon Slayer. I don't know if you even watched that.
Demon Slayer is just look. That series was way more enjoyable before I found out that the powers and special effects that I was seeing on screen weren't actually real, and everybody was kind of having just one big lucid dream or something. Like, I don't know. I don't know.
You
Why
want to enlighten me to that one? I don't even know about this. They're not real.
So, okay, I can find it. I can find it. Right. Somebody in chat might know what I'm talking about. Right. But so the effects in Demon Slayer, right? The fire, the water, the wind, all the breathing effects, right? They're not actually real. Like they're not actually there, right? They're just kind of there for the audience, but they're not actually there like during the fights. Like we don't get a moment where we get to see them disappear or anything like that, but they're not actually there. And then we have that statement, but it's also like kind of weird because it's like people like Rengoku who have fire breathing, like light trees on fire, right? or it's like mist breathing, like they actually get blinded by mist. So it's like what's really real, what's really not real. But then the author goes out of his way to reconfirm that they're not actually real. So it's like I can't watch that series the same. Like I'm being so honest. Like I can't.
You're ruining Demon Slayer for me. It's just tiny people with tiny swords. That's how I always viewed it.
Tiny people and tiny
It
swords.
is like their hands are so small. They have, like these tiny ass like little blades, and they all like breathe heavy and then kick their feet up and cut someone. That's what it always felt like.
Well, this guy in chat described it perfectly. That's actually how I meant to put it. They're real, but they're not visible. Like, so there are real effects, but they don't appear that way. So it's kind of like everybody in the series is schizophrenic, basically, or at least we are.
I'm okay being schizophrenic if it looks cool. I'm fine with that. I'll accept. Demon Slayer. I think Demon Slayer is a beautiful anime. I think it's much better to be watched than read, personally. That's just me, though. Maybe that's a crazy take.
Beautiful animation.
Demon Slayer is overrated. Yeah, I think some people just hate Demon Slayer. I don't think it went in the trash dumpster remotely as hard as My Hero Academia has recently. My Hero. I don't know if you know anything about MHA.
Well, no.
You're blessed. The stakes do not exist. Like, even if you spoil that series for somebody, like a major event, it probably doesn't matter because it got undone in the next chapter.
But I saw one thing about Deku. Is his name Deku? Deku lost his hands.
Oh yeah, it doesn't matter. He got him back.
What?
You heard me. He just magics them.
Didn't that just happen? I just read that. Like,
don't worry. Yeah, you're behind the times. They're back already. Yeah, My Hero Academia has no stakes. Some dude got like his heart filled out by a bunch of like genes, by like some silk. They like repaired his heart by him like going in and like turning himself into his new heart. It was really dumb. Like my MHA really fell off. I don't think it's a hot take anymore. MHA needs to be studied. Had a worse fumble than J. Cole's diss/apology. Yeah.
Oh, don't even get me started on J. Cole. Oh my god, that guy, chat. I'm not a J. Cole fan, not anymore.
Yeah, it's pretty true. That's the realest thing said in chat today. But as for, we're totally off topic here. What were we talking about with, that's just how it goes. That's 45 minutes into every Kuroko stream.
Let's see. Well, someone brought up stakes for a second. Jujutsu Kaisen, some people were like, oh, when Gojo's around, like, there's not really stakes or whatever. And it's like, that was true for a time period. And then Gege saw people complaining and he was like, all right, you guys get no Gojo now. We're taking him out the box and we're going to exercise him. And people were like, what? What do you mean? They actually did it. And Gojo, he hasn't been back. He left in 236 and he hasn't been back. So, you know, I don't really think JJK is a series that anybody could be like, oh yeah, I predicted this. I haven't seen any of those threads that you would see with other series, like with Obito being Tobi and Naruto, for example. There's people who were watching the anime on YouTube, right? While the manga didn't get up to it, who were like, oh, I think this guy might be, you know, Obito, even really, really early on. Because later on, it gets more obvious, right? But JJK really isn't like that. You don't really piece the things together as they go along. It doesn't really happen like that. People thought Sukuna was going to beat Gojo, but nobody actually knew how. Like, I'm being so honest. I didn't read a single theory about, oh, he's just going to make a dismantle that cuts through infinity. Even though it's, like, kind of right in your face.
I saw one. It was horrifically downvoted. That's all I know. I saw a single one. I saw a lot more people predicted Megami being taken over. And I would say it was from no big YouTuber. No big YouTuber predicted the Sukuna dismantle. I mean, most people predicted a Sukuna victory, but not in that way.
As the victory is really what makes that win, to be honest. The way he won.
Yeah, I liked it. Personally, I think it's like when you reread it now, it makes a lot more sense. Especially, and I hope it'll make even more sense when we finally get to the true like Sukuna power reveal with the Fuka and everything, and like why he's been holding back. Because they keep telling us, and like I don't mind if they keep telling us, but they better show us. Because show don't tell is usually better. On the note of Obito though, and his reveal, I'm glad you brought this up. Because I remember when I was in high school and Naruto was releasing, my neighbor came over. And he doesn't watch Naruto at all. Alright. Like he played the Naruto Storm games, and that was where he got the goddamn story for Naruto from. And he told me, "Yo, dude, I think that masked asshole is Obito." It was like
That's
it was
literally how I watched the series, bro, with the Storm games.
Storm games were good. Like, it is a good way to learn the series for sure. It
I
definitely
love
got me
those
into
games.
Shippuden. I also think Kage did like wonders for Naruto, to be honest.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, on the topic of Naruto, to kind of bring it back to JJK for a second. Do you guys think JJK after season 2 has the potential to be one of those generational animes that people always go back to go and watch?
Oh, I definitely think so. It could be. Depends how it ends. It needs a good ending.
Yep.
Oh, Donatello was super chatted. What are, excuse me, what are the chances that Yuta and Rika somehow obtaining and utilizing Uraume's CT to counter Sukuna's utilization of the flame arrow? I don't think he's gonna be able to cancel it out with the Uraume ice technique. I don't think her ice is strong enough, to be honest. Like, Sukuna's flame arrow is probably insane.
Definitely. It's that guy, well, just like how Kusakabe put it, he burnt down a guy whose head is made out of a volcano. Like, do you like just think about that for a second? Like, that's crazy.
The embodiment of like the fear of volcanic collapse is losing to fire. Like, that guy was not him. Jogo was not him. I'm sorry. I remember Enemy Stand user said this. Like, how does a self-embodiment of volcanic eruptions die to a goddamn fire arrow? It's good. What's the Culling Games is weird to read week to week, but in anime format, it'll go hard. Yeah, like having an episode of like a fight per week would be pretty good. I'm in agreement there. For sure, JJK will stay. Yet personally, I will watch it down the run. I assume he means road. Honestly, didn't even like season 1. Season 2 was so good it made me read the manga. That's crazy. I love season 1. And then season 2 came out, and it was great. I think it really peaked in like the later half. I've never been a big fan of hidden inventory, so like I kind of just skipped that part until we got to Toji. Like, I don't really care to see like 2 episodes of like Gojo running around the teenager. That's just me. I'm well known for my hot takes. So like, I think Riko is like the most annoying character.
What?
I hated her, and when the music cut out and she died, I was like, thank God Toji's here.
What? That was so sad. You weren't like emotionally moved like
No,
at all.
though. I mean, I was moved by the part that Riko, like, I have empathy for Riko, obviously, in the sense of like she was innocent and all, but the way the anime cut it, and I know no operator felt the same way, is that Riko, like they cut the music out so abruptly, it was almost comedic.
Oh yeah. That's shocking. I saw people were trolling after they green screened Riko, making her look like she got shot by like a Minecraft skeleton or something. I was like, oh my god, JJK people. And then they kept up the lobotomy until the end of season.
They also used like a Dark Souls sound, like the Dark Souls stock effect immediately after, which is like I couldn't get it off my mind after that. I like hidden inventory though. I like for Toji, even though he's kind of a bum. It's my it's my hottest take on this channel. I've given many times that I just don't like the first part of hidden inventory that much. How many streams in a row? It's been like 3 streams in a row. I've talked about how I thought that Toji coming in and like making hidden inventory better was like the best part.
Oh yeah, I can definitely agree with that. But it being bad, I mean, look, it doesn't have a lot of rereadability, which is rare for a lot of parts in JJK. I think most parts, like way more than other manga, where you can just like flip to a random chapter and just see things happening that you would want to read. Like, yeah, definitely after Shibuya, it's like a constant thing. You can't really say the same for any other series. That point in the series, little rereadability.
I don't think it's bad. I don't think it's bad at all. I'm just not a huge fan. I just don't like the way the anime portrayed it as much as the manga, to be honest. It's just like, maybe it's just not my demographic. I don't know. I'm not like a big fan. I don't really care to see Gojo with like his fight bagged head guy. It's just that first part. That's the only part I don't like. Everything else is fine. You can't lie, the animation was amazing though. It was amazing. Like, if you like hidden inventory, like hidden inventory is good. I'm not gonna say it's bad. Maybe I did say it's bad earlier in the stream on accident, but like I don't think it is bad. I just think that it's just not my favorite arc. If I was gonna cut anything out of Jujutsu Kaisen, it would be the first half of Hidden Inventory. I think it is important for Gojo. I think it does set up where he is in the story. Like I can recognize the impact it has on his character. And that's fine. It's just not something I totally enjoyed up until Toji. That's all I had to say about that. It's my hottest take, I know.
It's not the worst. I mean, I've heard crazier recently, especially.
I think my hottest take yesterday on No Off Stream was people got real mad when I said current Yuji beats Geto and Jogo.
Jogo, like let's have a conversation, chat. What makes you think Jogo is like this crazy Shinjuku contending character?
He has that big meteor, that panda dodge.
Big meteor.
He has fire that failed to kill all 3 people he used it against immediately.
Oh my god. You know he was gonna hit Naobito with it for a second time? Like, Naobito was still alive. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, he definitely wasn't surviving and literally died. But, like, he was gonna have to use it twice on Naobito. Like, he touches him again and then just runs away when he senses Sukuna.
Yeah, Jogo, it just doesn't have the feats. That's the issue. Like, his best feats like statements half the time. His whole thing is he uses, like you said, Naobito is gonna get hit a second time. And they all lived. Like, all of these super, well, they died later. But Nanami gets burned. He's still alive.
He's still moving. He's still fighting.
Naobito, like, these guys are all exhausted from a Dagon domain. He is fast enough. Like, he was smart enough to catch Naobito with the, like, little fire mushrooms. I heard they call them the little volcanoes he put on the wall. And, like, that is pretty good. Anime Jogo's a different story. Like, I think a lot of people gas him up even more because of the anime, because he is actually him in the anime. Like, if you can pour lava across a whole city, that changes a lot to me.
Yeah, he's crazy.
Jogo has a domain. A lot of people bring up, like, the domain, but the domain has shown nothing. They just say, oh, it can burn, like, most sorcerers, but it has effectively burned literally 0 people since it was shown. Like, it's shown nothing. It's just, like, it's a potential domain. Maybe if you could use the maximum meteor in it.
Maybe. Like, as a sure hit?
Like, as a sure hit. I feel like if that was a sure hit, that could definitely put someone down. Like, if that were, but we don't even know if it is. And the Uzumaki, the maximum Uzumaki, is not the sure hit of Geto. So I don't know why we'd think that Jogo's has to be a maximum meteor. I just feel like he's kind of a victim of his own... He pussied out against Sukuna and didn't use his domain. If he did, we might have seen how good that thing could have been.
He would have got fried.
He would have got fried for sure.
He would have got fried so fast, dude.
Should have cracked it open. It was like his one opportunity. Like, I gotta give my domain feats before I go out. I'll do something.
No, he definitely should have. Like, I mean, so here's the most that I think you could really get out of Jogo, right? He's stronger than Hanami, Dagon, and even, let's say, first form Mahito. That's contentious, and I don't really care who you put above for right now, right? But let's say he's above first form Mahito. The way Kenjaku describes the evolution is like, oh, I wanted Jogo to kind of reach this level, but, like, he just couldn't, right? So he's definitely not ISB level. He's definitely not true form level. He's definitely not the level of the Mahito that we saw in his last round with Yuji. Just based on how Kenjaku puts it, right? Where I wanted him to get to this level, but he never could, right?
Oh, he wanted to collect up the curse technique. And, like, Kenjaku thinks that, like, killing Jogo would have been easy business.
Yeah.
Which it would be.
Well, there's that one statement in the fan book where it's something to do with Kenjaku fighting the disaster curses or something. And they say Kenjaku would win, but they kind of imply it would be difficult or something. I can get it.
Well, I gotta reference this thing in chat because China Doll just donated 10 memberships. That's crazy. Like, every stream. Actually goated. And no off stream too yesterday. Legendary supporter. Thank you very much. And for all the new members, I hope you enjoy the membership. We now have emojis, and actually we should be able to add more emojis pretty soon. Because there's like a certain limit to get, like, what, 10? There we go. Okay, sorry, what were you saying?
Well, Jogo. I don't. I honestly like chat. I'm just being honest. Like that guy's not ISB level, so it's like the farthest you could really get him. He'd be. He definitely wiped the floor with grade ones, like for sure. But I really don't think he'd wipe the floor with anybody in Shinjuku currently. That's like an actual like champion for too high.
Yeah, the issue is like these characters do get power cliffed, and the disaster curses. I understand why people like them so much because they do treat them as strong at the time, but the disaster curses just got seriously outscaled. And it's unfortunate, but like Dagon, honestly, for more for statements, Dagon feels stronger than Jogo. Outside like maybe the maximum meteor.
Yeah, but even then, that thing is like terrible, dude. Like maximum meteor. My God, Panda dodging it. Like, can you even just comprehend that for a second? Like, Panda dodged it. How are we supposed to argue he's gonna do that to anybody? Like, okay, in his domain, he sure, like he'll have it as a sure hit.
A
But
delayed maximum meteor got dodged, it's even worse.
yeah, oh my God, that's actually crazy.
As for Ghetto, that's the other thing I hooked on. Is like Ghetto. People talk about Ghetto having like 4,000 curse spirits all the time. The issue I have is like all the good curse spirits from curse spirit manipulation are from Kenjaku that we've seen. There's not a single curse spirit I've seen besides like the cockroach one, Hiroshi. So I'm pronouncing that right. That one is tough. Like that is from CSM, released into the Culling games. But that was a Kenjaku CSM, and Kenjaku is well known for collecting curse spirits immediately after. If Ghetto had that special grade, first of all, he should have used it against Yuta, so the fact he didn't kind of tells me everything. But Ghetto's 4,000 curse spirits fighting Yuji, like who cares if you have 4,000 or 5,000? It might take a while, but what's stopping Yuji from killing every single one if they're weak?
With one punch, by the way.
With a one punch. It's like an army of fodder is just that.
Yeah, it's not really gonna any well. At the end of the day, he's still gonna make his way to Kenjaku or Ghetto.
Yeah, Ghetto. I think Kenjaku wins because Kenjaku's him, kind of.
Kenjaku's just a much better version of Ghetto.
Superior Ghetto.
Honestly, Ghetto wouldn't have gotten as much hate if Kenjaku wasn't that goated.
The Kenjaku has the hand-to-hand combat on the level of Gojo. I've heard that stated. He also has the incredible domain crush. And he's smarter with this CSM than Ghetto is, and he has better curse spirits that he goes across the world to collect. Yeah, he's just him. Just that guy. Even though he spams centipedes like 90% of the time, and the coolest curse spirits he pulls out get one shot. Like that whole Ganesha.
Yeah.
He pulled out like that thing. I thought that thing was actually gonna absolutely drop some bodies, but it just got footballed in one hit.
Yeah, I mean, another thing about Ghetto, I mean, I don't know if this is a hot take anymore, but there's really no like empirical evidence for that guy having reverse curse technique. Like, I'm just gonna go out on a limb and say he probably just doesn't have reverse curse technique.
Oh, Kenjaku, or you mean the not Kenjaku?
Ghetto.
Oh, yeah, he's a victim. He couldn't even grow back his arm. He lost to like one Rika blast from like a younger Yuji, like not Yuji, excuse me, a younger Yuta, like a fresh Yuta. Granted, the Rika sounds like it was stronger. He does make like the vow of like, oh, I love you, Rika. And then she's like, all right, let's go body this monkey hater. But it's still just, Ghetto is such a victim of the writing of JJK0, where the power system is not quite there yet. If he was a villain now, he'd be a lot stronger, I'm sure. But the bigger issue is characters like Miguel are now outscaling him in like melee feats. Like Miguel just punches a hole through Ghetto's head. It's crazy. Miguel can actually fodderize. Like I've seen some people talk about this, or Kai was talking about this. Miguel does what Gojo did to all of the curse spirits in that subway station better. In that short term.
Yeah, he probably would. Because I don't think people really
not
have, like,
you know how
Miguel. Crazy that is? Oh yeah, I thought you said Miguel.
Yeah, what are you saying?
So Miguel having, even if it's Gojo without his curse technique, right? Like there's been a fair bit of points where he's fought without his curse technique, but some of them are more questionable than others. It's like, what example do we really have of Gojo fighting completely without his curse technique and like with no amps whatsoever, right? I saw a lot of people bringing up the fact that it's like, oh, he's contending Sukuna when he didn't have his curse technique, blah blah. But one, he doesn't really do much. He does some, right? But he doesn't really do much against Sukuna. And then he's also in a simple domain, which Kusakabe just revealed that it amps you. So it's not even like that's the Gojo that Miguel would be referring to.
Yeah, we only got like the one point in the story where he is actually fighting with no curse technique in that subway station. And I feel like, personally, I think Gojo got stronger since Shibuya after the Prison Realm, beyond just the Prison Realm knowledge. Like, everyone else trained. I think Gojo would be an idiot not to. And he even talks about training. And then he goes on to do things like my hottest take would be Gojo, without his curse technique for blue, was like going through all of these normal citizens, and he's trying to like, okay, I'm gonna go find Jogo. I'm gonna hunt down that sweating mountain man. It's like Jogo is like actually dripping tears from his volcano head. But Sukuna later is just so fast on his own with 15 fingers that Jogo physically cannot react. He's just getting his hands sliced off in an instant. And I feel like if Gojo was fast without blue, as fast as Sukuna without blue, which I think he's pretty close when he fights Maguna later. Granted, this is in Yuji's body. I feel like he must have done some training since Shibuya. I think he'd be stupid not to. I made a whole thing about like he should be stronger after the Prison Realm.
The Prison Realm definitely gave him he was taking notes in the Prison Realm for sure. Like, I mean, he just blatantly says that. He wasn't sitting around doing nothing. But here's the whole thing, right? I was thinking, I'm like, okay, well, Purple Unlimited, right? He's just like, oh, this is my new technique. I actually wouldn't be surprised if Gojo never tested out Purple Unlimited before he actually used it. Because there's that whole thing with Gojo where he's supposed to be able to do techniques on just, the first time he ever wants to do them. He's just like that, right? It's why he never really had to learn Simple Domain. He could just do it when he needed to, and this was the first time he needed to.
He is definitely a prodigy. He is like almost an unmatched prodigy. I think honestly the only prodigies better than Gojo, especially given what he was facing, are probably like Sukuna, obviously, because Sukuna's just insane. Like, copying whatever you see is actually cracked. But Megami getting a domain earlier, but then he goes on to do almost nothing. Yuta is the one I'd probably point to the most because he had this domain expansion for a while. Like, it's not like he got it in the past month. And Yuta really is, like, he is very strong for, like, what, a 16-year-old? I think he's 16. Pretty sure, like, a 16-year-old Yuta, I think he beats a, like, current Yuta beats the Teen Gojo equivalent, for sure. Just sure hits him. I think he could beat him in the domain, especially now he has the Jacob's Ladder.
So, I mean, pre-RCT Gojo... Oh, is it pre-RCT?
Yeah,
or is it
pre-RCT Gojo. No hollow purple.
Okay, pre-RCT Gojo
versus current Yuta.
He's always been weird to scale. One thing that you can point out, right, is that I forget how the scaling chain goes, but it's something like Nooya with projection sorcery or something, right? Might be, I forget exactly how it's compared, right? But it's something to do with Nooya's projection sorcery being faster than Yuta based on their interaction, which there's a ton of problems with there, which leads all the way back to Toji, which would lead back to Gojo. But I mean, it's all just wonky. Like, it's kind of just hard to link them, is basically what I'm trying to get at.
I mean, that's true. Like, Team Gojo did fight a Toji, and Toji's still strong. Like, Toji's still up there, especially if he's equivalent to Maki still, which I think he is, or at least very close. I know people think Maki got stronger. She definitely has the better feats, but nobody has said that Maki's gotten stronger in the past month yet. Like, we don't know how Heavenly Restriction works. It's not the same as like, oh, my cursed energy control is better. She's probably better at fighting than she was a month ago. Maybe she did get like an actual physical buff. But as far as Maki is concerned, she's treated as a monster by Sukuna. Like, he's like, okay, she's no small fry, even prior to the post-month. So I think like strong is strong, and Toji's still pretty strong. Maybe not like top tier, but definitely up there in terms of like the overall sorcerers.
Not gonna lie, I don't know if this is a hot take, but I don't think heavenly restricted people can get stronger. Like they get their power through a binding vow. Binding vows are kept as long as you keep them. Obviously, you keep your own end. They still don't have any cursed energy. Same way as they probably can't get stronger because they can't develop anything more with that binding vow. They probably can't get weaker either, to be honest, at least physically. Experience wise and different things like that, yeah. Can they lose the mental amp? Sure. But in terms of like their stats going down, probably not.
I definitely, honestly, I'm in agreement. I don't think they can get stronger right now until we get like an actual statement. They just say, "Oh, she's on par with Toji," okay, and then everyone treats her as like, "Oh, she's different. Oh, she's strong," the entire time, and then she goes on to continue fighting the same way she was fighting before. I think the biggest argument you can make is that like a 15 finger Sukuna was like giving her as much trouble as he is now in like this nerfed version. But this is also a nerf Sukuna, so it's nerf Sukuna compared to nerf Sukuna. And like you said, it's hard to compare in the first place because we don't know how much his output dropped from the Yuji punches, and we probably never will. Especially when he's getting it back and it's dropping, and he gets it back and it drops.
You
It's just
can't
hard.
scale that guy,
Yeah,
bro.
it's crazy.
Can't scale that guy.
Let's read some questions in chat real quick. I think some people have some good ones. Miguel is fodder. I don't care about one Gojo line even saying in a fight without CT. It's just BS. When do the characters not have their CT? I think it's more that Miguel is just strong physically. Well, that's the takeaway. Like his reinforcement is absolutely top. I think that's undeniable, right? Like being above Gojo at all is just that's a fact. You're top. You're top in something. Let's see. We know people can come back to life in this series. That is true. Mostly Sukuna, though, unfortunately for everybody. Let's see. Maki can get better swordsmanship and things like that, I'd imagine. I agree, Tiberius. And like that is the big thing. I think you brought that up too, Jaded. That
yeah, I mean,
like Toji's got the skills with the combat.
Toji's got the skills and Toji's got the arsenal, but the one difference between them that I think a lot of them forget is that worm. And I'm not just gonna be like, oh, well, like I got more tools or whatever. No. Think about it like this, right? Everyone likes to use the split soul katana as like Maki's big win con. Like Maki will one shot anybody with split soul katana. Okay, Yuta opens up his domain on Maki, right? Oh, but it's like, oh, the sure hit isn't really gonna work because it can't track Maki, but Maki's gonna be holding a curse tool. Hypothetically, if the soul split katana is the win con, somebody like Toji wouldn't have to do something like that. Toji's got regular curse tools, or not regular curse tools, but actual just tools, right? He can enter the domain and keep them in his stomach with his curse tools, right? Like
that little guy was OP.
He's OP. Toji would be able to walk up to people inside their domains and just only take out the curse tool right before they're about to use it, compared to Maki, who would either have to be walking in with it and then from the start is going to be able to be tracked because they're holding a curse tool like Gojo did to Toji back in hidden inventory, or Maki's not going to have soul split katana.
Yeah, the I have invisible guts is like honestly one of the dumbest things in this story, but it's a fact. He has an invisible stomach. Even though, like, I feel like if you took an X-ray to a guy that has no cursed energy in his liver or like his stomach, it's not going to suddenly make the very obvious cursed spirit less visible, but apparently it does. So much so that Geto couldn't understand it. It seems like Gojo couldn't. Like maybe he could with 6 eyes. Maybe it's like a little different. But for sure, you're right. That little cursed spirit, I think it was OP. I think it was an absolute hero. If Maki had that, like everything changes.
Those win cons, like she'd be able to actually use soul split katana inside domains, because people are always like, oh well, domains won't work on Maki. It's like, okay, Maki's gonna be holding that curse tool that's like y'all's win con, but now she's gonna be able to get tracked by sure hits.
Soul Liberation Blade, a hidden Soul Liberation Blade in like a bag of holding is pretty OP. Oh, what's the somebody asked here, what is your top 10, Jaded? Top 10. I don't know if you given this any thought.
Top 10. So Sukuna Gojo kind of spoke about earlier. The heavy hitters I think should all be around the same level for a bunch of reasons. I said it earlier in the stream, but I'll say it again. Kenjaku thinks that they can all fight together against Sukuna, or at least that's what he's planning in his head. And that really shouldn't be possible if there was a large gap between them, because like people like Gojo can't fight alongside other people at Jujutsu High because of that. A gap like that would be present. But then there's also like the whole narrative of where Gojo says that I don't want anybody to feel alone in the modern age, right? and being alone is directly correlated with gaps in strength. And then supposedly, like, now his dream is being fulfilled, which would mean that there can't really be gaps of strength, at least for his students, right? The people who that narrative kind of relies on. So given that, they should all be like around the same level, right? The ranking that I have right now is Sukuna, Gojo, Maki, Yuta, then Hakari, right? And then I can really explain why I put Maki above Yuta, because that's really the most contentious one. But keep in mind, I'm kind of in the middle of it. I don't think it's a crazy take to put Yuta above Maki, but I'll go through what I'm thinking for, right? All these guys are around the same level, so it really just comes down to kit. Okay, it comes down to kit. We have Yuta's only options to kill Maki are Curse Speech, which shouldn't really work on Maki, because one, Curse Speech travels by sound, right? Maki is Mach 3. Yuta can land Curse Speech on people who are way above Mach 3, like Sukuna, but that was only when, like, Yuta was damn near whispering in that guy's ear, bro. Like, I'm not even, like, that's actually, like, crazy. And so, it's like, okay, let's say they start out like standard battle assumptions, they're starting 20 meters away. Maki is not getting hit by that, because there's also an aiming factor to Curse Speech, right? Yuta says it in volume 0, where like you do have to aim it to some degree, right? And you have to aim cursed energy to be more specific, right?
We also use the yeah, like the whole fact that like cursed energy can counteract it. It might be, you could be on something there, that Curse Speech is a purely cursed energy thing, and like you don't have cursed energy, you can't be targeted, similar to like a sure hit. And there might be some truth to that.
I don't think it's wild to say. I mean, I think that's just what Yuta implies. Like Yuta's like, oh, it's hard to aim the cursed energy or like get it all in one place. And it's like, I'm not even comparing volume 0 Yuta to this Yuta when I say that. I'm just saying, like, Curse Speech at its core, there is a targeting system to it, which, probably wouldn't be able to work on Maki. So Curse Speech is out the question. Thin Icebreaker, I think, could damage Maki, considering it damaged Sukuna. But then it's like, okay, you expect him to run up on Maki, right, and land a punch when Maki can literally react to things that are a blitz level above, like with her precog, obviously. So it's like, what win con do we really give Yuta? Yuta's got Rika, and 2v1ing Maki is definitely an option, but it's like, I mean, I don't think Rika is like faster than Yuta or anything like that. I think we kind of see that with their fight with Ryu.
Yeah, I think they're pretty close. But even when she pops in against Sukuna, they're like fighting right by each other. It's also fighting right by Yuji as well.
Like, it's close, but it's not. It's not really gonna be. It's not really as much of a problem. It's not like he's gonna be jumped by like it's not like Maki's gonna be jumped by like 3 different people. So it's like, I don't really care too much about who you put above when it comes to Yuta and Maki, because they're definitely the most contentious people in the top 5. But it's just, I'm kind of leaning more towards Maki. Yuta and Hakari. So let me preface this, right? If Hakari lands at least 2 jackpots, he beats Yuta. That's what the statement says, right? When Hakari's on a roll, right, he will beat Yuta. And the reason behind this is like kind of obvious when you really put your head to it, right? Yuta has a power-up that only lasts for about 5 minutes, and Hakari has a power-up that lasts about 4 minutes and 11 seconds, right? So if he powered up twice, then obviously he'd outlast Rika, and he loses basically 80% of his arsenal. And at that point, is it really a question of, oh, Yuta's just weaker than Hakari, or did Hakari really just outlast Yuta? Which, I mean,
there is some truth to that. I think that there is a front-loaded, like a lot of Yuta's powers are very front-loaded. He's very good at ending a fight quickly. I do think Jacob's Ladder could change things a bit, just because Jacob's Ladder should be able, it should be able to remove Jackpot potentially. It is like if it's an imbued sure hit, well, not a sure hit, but if it's an imbued part of his technique in the domain, that might be a little more contentious.
I don't think that's crazy at all. I don't think that's crazy. It depends on what exactly the amp from Jackpot is. Like, if his curse technique really just is just the domain, right? And the things that he gets outside of the domain and after the game are just like things that he got from the curse technique but aren't necessarily the curse technique, right? Like the Maharaga, for example. Like, a lot of people like to debate whether Maharaga is Megami's curse technique or is summoning Maharaga and controlling him Megami's curse technique.
I think Maharaga is just it's part of the curse technique. It's a 10 Shadows ritual. Like, controlling him is like, yeah, it's like the ultimate form of it, but like it's all part of the same, like the ritual is a component of his technique.
Yeah, I think so too. I think so too. You get the idea.
Yeah, I
You get
get
the
you.
idea.
I get you.
Could be
So
something
so
like
you'd
that.
say so number one Sukuna, two Gojo, number three Yuta, number four Maki, number five Hakari, or am I getting you wrong there?
Yeah. It could be. I would put Maki above, but you can switch them. You could switch them.
Where do you think Yuji is in this
So
top five?
Yuji right now, I'd put him below Hakari, but that can change very easily in the next chapter. Very easily. Like I can't even stress this. If Yuji starts doing some crazy damage, it's gonna be really hard to say that Hakari would survive against Yuji until he gets in jackpot. Because first of all, a lot of people like on tier list, for example, they put like jackpot Hakari. Okay, like that's the name of the placement on the list is jackpot Hakari, which I mean I think is kind of not really the most honest way to title him because you're basically saying okay we're gonna give this guy immortality and we're gonna have a bunch of people fight him. Like in what fight does he really start out immortal anyways? Like no standard battle that these two would ever have, he would start out in jackpot. Like that only happened against Kashimo, like just by chance that he came across him after fighting Charles within the 4 minutes and 11 seconds, you know? So it's like
That
if he's
crazy
starting out
travel feat.
okay, insane travel feat. But if he starts out, in base and then he's got to roll for it, even against Yuta, it's really kind of hard to say that he survives. But against what Yuji could potentially be with this awakening, it's really hard to say.
I would say if Yuji can land guaranteed black flashes, he is the strongest heavy hitter. Except for like maybe Yuta with his domain. But like if this guy shows a domain counter, which to be honest, I think Yuji definitely has a domain counter. I think it's ridiculous to think that he has been training with Kusakabe. They even mentioned the new Shadow style at one point, and like he asked Gojo to teach him it. And he's like, oh, he's a terrible teacher, and Kusakabe is like the master of new Shadow style, and he's been teaching this kid the whole time. Like, there's no way they're gonna send Yuji in against Sukuna and not teach him a simple domain when like goddamn Miwa can learn it. That's how I feel
Yeah.
personally. That's the main thing he's missing. But like I don't give him the benefit of the doubt quite yet, just because people want feats, and feats over everything usually. So he doesn't have it, though. If he is truly the manifestation of a Black Flash mastery with a domain counter, if he gets his hands on you, you're just dead.
Oh, yeah,
He
you're
absolutely
finished. Yuji's
rolls
Black
you.
Flash Amp is huge. Like that 2.5. Like we're talking about going from like normal hits where we're landing on Nanami and doing like no damage whatsoever to severely damaging Nanami or not Nanami, Hanami outside of Black Flash. And these things that were like if Yuji landed enough Black Flashes on apparently everybody's goat now, Jogo would have got fried. So it's like you just really got to think about it. Like these punches, like it's not a joke. It's exponential for a reason. It's not multiplicative and it's not additive. Like this is exponential. It grows the stronger you get.
Yeah, your base strength definitely makes a huge difference. I think there was a talk about that recently as well. We're like Gojo. I mean, minus his racism. If we take that aside, Gojo was saying that like the general, the general build of like a character, and if you add curse energy onto a strong person like Todo or something, they're going to be stronger with like the equivalent reinforcement to someone who is like Yuta, who's like super physically weak.
Yeah,
So that
definitely.
explains why Sukuna is treated as like crazy tough in his true form, because he's like the biggest body of anybody.
Dude, look at Gojo's regular punches compared to his Black Flash. This dude knocked out Sukuna. Like, can you? I still can't kind of wrap my head around it. Like knocking out a character just from the difference of a power up on a punch when he was already amplifying his curse technique with his fists. Like, that's actually insane.
He rolled
Like the
him into
difference
the
between.
got the push of the red, and then sucked him in with the blue punch and Black Flash. Like there's a lot that went into that punch.
Oh yeah.
As for
Oh,
so let's see top. So I'm just trying to get a feel because he asked for top 10. So one Sukuna for you, two Gojo, three Yuta, four Maki, five Hakari, six Yuji right now because you're putting him under. What's your number seven?
oh, we can. Someone said in chat, Yorozu and Kenjaku.
Oh, I'll give my top five for sure then. Before we move on
See.
there.
Rozu and Kenjaku. I'll say this right. Kenjaku is hard because he did get blitzed by Yuta, but then again, he got blitzed like super close. It's like, oh, would Yuta really be able to do the same thing 20 meters out without Takaba's help? I don't know. I don't really have an answer for that. Yorozu, I think Yorozu is extremely underrated, but that's like an entire other topic. But
Oh, I
I
agree.
personally think Yorozu would give every single heavy hitter a fair run for their money and probably win against a few. Not gonna lie.
Where do you put Ryu? Now he's I think I put him pretty
Ryu?
high because Ryu has stronger reinforcement than anybody and like the highest output of the Culling games, which is like I put him above the heavy hitters right now, to be honest.
I think he's above Yuta now.
Maybe not with Yuta's domain because we don't know what our boy like. I mean, Yuta did beat him with like the whole pull up. What is it called? So sky manipulation. But I would say like as far as like a regular heavy hitters go, like it depends. If he gets a good granite blast, like a straight granite blast at somebody at full power, because they said it was like a weakened granite blast versus the Rika blast. Granted, Yuta is stronger now, but Ryu has the gas statement of being tough enough to fight, like to tougher than Yuji and Yuta now. Ryu is 15 finger fodder though. Come on, they're all 15 finger fodder. Yuta doesn't last 2 seconds against the current Yuta. Gets absolutely folded by 15 fingers. Maguna, they all do. They get one shot. It's rough, but you know that's the statement now. Where are we putting Yuki? This is where it gets difficult.
Oh lord, Yuki. See, here's the thing. It's like Kenjaku is hard to scale, so it's like, where do you scale Yuki? 'Cause below Kenjaku, wherever that is. Kenjaku, he's just been all anti-feats lately. Like it's like beware. It's like chat. Okay, Yuta, yes, 100% blitzed Kenjaku really, really, really badly, right? But do you think Yuta would be able to do the same thing 20 meters away without Takaba's help?
I definitely don't. I would say that the whole thing with Takaba, it definitely let him get close, and Yuta definitely has a good feat to be able to pull up on the whole Kenjaku thing and then just cut his head off in that time before he can like fully turn around and use his technique. Like he was aware. It's not like Kenjaku got caught like completely off guard. Like he was caught off guard for sure, but it's not the same as you're sleeping and this guy stabbed you. You know?
Yeah.
It's one of those things.
He tried to activate a technique. Like that's also the thing, right? It's like Kenjaku tried to make a counterattack, right? Like he wasn't asleep like you said. Like he was awake. He was even fighting back.
Yeah, he tried to do
just got
something. He was
blitzed.
too slow.
Yeah.
But that would never happen if he had snuck him because he would have more time to react. But it's pretty clear to me, at least, that Yuta in like a close range confrontation is like a little faster than Kenjaku.
Oh, yeah, in close range, yeah. But with the distance, and if you guys don't know why I'm really making a big deal out of the distance, I mean, the speed equation is speed, or what is it? Distance and time makes speed, basically. Like that's really how we determine how fast something is, right? We take how far it's starting from with how much time it took to get there, right? So the more time you have, the slower speed you would require, basically, right? So if Yuta's starting out 60 meters away and he's got to run at Kenjaku, is he really going to be able to close that distance in that time again? Probably.
Definitely not.
Definitely not. Like, definitely not.
Yeah, Kenjaku has like the best barrier against him too, with like the whole anti-gravity. Like if you give Kenjaku a head start, I just think like again, if you start Yuta 2 feet away from Kenjaku, he probably wins every time because he's faster than Kenjaku is, like in the short term at least. That's what it seems like because he turned around. He was trying to do something. He was just too slow.
I mean, dude, but that's not even fair. Like this guy's in a mid-range Shikigami user's body.
Yeah, poor guy.
Like, come on.
Yuji, awakened or not, still loses to disaster curses. No, he doesn't.
Hell no.
Hell no, not even close. Stop wanking him. Stop wanking the disaster curses, bro. Jogo can't even kill Naobito in one shot. Will Takaba CT work on Sukuna? Takaba CT works on everyone.
It's not gonna kill Sukuna, but it'll do something. It'll be funny.
Takava's too nice to be the most OP guy and kill you with his domain. Excuse me, his CT. Yuda's just him. He cooks Kenny. I do think it's closer. Like, Kenjaku's domain, that's the real question, right? Is if the Kenjaku domain, like, actually beats a Yuda domain. I think they might cancel each other out. Like, clearly, open barrier does not guarantee to equal the whole cancel out. That's what people thought for a long time. Like, refinement is your open barrier. Then we see in Gojo versus Sukuna that open barrier is just an application of the barrier technique. The sure hit effect itself is still treated separately. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I get what you mean.
The disaster curses are in the mud, my guy. Accept it. It's true. Disaster curses have been left in the dust. It is unfortunate.
Dude, what are you even comparing? Their GOAT, Mahito, was beaten by Yuji, who went into the fight already weakened, by the way. Like, Mahito references his soul HP and everything. Like, definitely wasn't at 100%. Then he's beaten. Then we have a fully recovered Yuji with training, by the way, with better reinforcement. With a curse technique at his disposal and better punches to deal with somebody like Mahito. It's like, bro, what are we comparing? The only thing that really holds Yuji back in a fight with Mahito is the fact that right now, Yuji doesn't really have an answer to his domain. Like, even still, like, if he gets caught in it, like, he's kind of done. Before, he didn't really have to worry about it because he had Sukuna, but now he has nobody, right? So if Yuji's caught in that domain, he's cooked. But if it's just a normal fight, no domain, yeah, Yuji's gonna wipe the floor with that guy.
Yeah, Mahito was kind of on his way to become him, but got removed too fast. Yeah, the disaster curses, I mean, they did what they were supposed to do, which is be there as the front runner villains for our characters, and now they've just been surpassed. That's kind of the whole point. Mahito used 10% full strength. He would have beaten Yuji if Todo wasn't there. Yeah, that's an extremely weakened Yuji. Again. And Yuji's punches were still the one that put down Mahito in the end. So like the damage is definitely there.
Yeah, the Black Flash that we just saw Yuji hit with Sukuna would one-shot Mahito by, like, even worse than it did before, so I don't really know what we're comparing here.
People say you can't remove domains. I mean, it's true you can't remove the domain, but you can counter it. Like, do we think Gojo with a simple domain is losing if he doesn't open Unlimited Void versus Mahito? Like, there are power cliffs in JJK. They're rare. They are rarer than like most series, but there are characters that just like straight up outstat other ones.
I don't even think I'm not even saying remove the domain. You know, I don't even think that. But if Yuji's caught in it, like, sure, he loses, but if he's not caught in it, yeah, because it's not even like Mahito in character like uses the domain right off the bat. Like, he always has to get pushed to use it. Like, the first time he uses it was when he's like about to die, and like the second time he uses it was when, you know, he's really on the back foot. Like, he's being pushed farther and farther back away from the building that they were originally fighting at. So if Yuji's just gonna go up and blitz him, it's not really a question if he's gonna be able to use his domain or not.
Oh, so let's first say, what's even the point if you have to nerf everyone who's matched up? This is in continuation of what you're saying. Who's matched up against Yuji by disabling domains. Mahito couldn't use his CT or domain against Yuji because of Sukuna. Not anymore. Yeah, Mahito is such a slow bum, though. He just gets one shot if he manages to open his domain. But even if he does, Yuji almost guaranteed has a domain counter right now. And even if we don't give it to him, and you say Mahito wins for like the next 5 minutes, like, once he shows one, he just gets fodderized. It's ridiculous to say these characters still win. Like, they're disaster curses. They are cripplingly outstatted. Like, if you really want to give it to Mahito and say, like, Yuji just loses because domain, that's fine. He kills every single other disaster curse, still. Because all of their domains have never showed anything remotely capable of killing him. Oh, and in the case of Jogo, I should say, the only one we saw, Dagon's Death Swarm. Like, what's Death Swarm doing to Yuji? With RCT. Like Nanami was surviving this thing.
And nothing. Like, I mean, Yuji's not even like the best user of RCT. I would go as far to say he's pretty bad at it. You know, he's making mistakes that have never before been heard of, but having RCT and not having RCT, even if it's bad RCT, it's still huge. I would much rather have terrible RCT than have no RCT.
And we know characters like Kashimo. Like, if you do have a domain counter, on the note of domain counters, characters like Kashimo, people bring up like 0.2 second domains. Hakari is like the fastest domain ever. And the moment he opens it, our boy Kashimo says, "Oh, shall I use Hollow Wicker Basket?" Like, he already knows. So like reacting to a fast domain is not impossible. It's been shown. Like, unless you do your sure hit, like even if you do your sure hit immediately, like activating your new shadow style in response should be possible. One shot by what, Lamau? A punch? It's not even like Yuji can land a black flash at will. If you honestly believe a regular punch from current Yuji is one-shotting an ISBK Mahito, I mean, probably.
It doesn't need to.
Like, I mean, probably, to be honest, at this point with how he's scaling.
That punch does not need to be a black flash. Yuji weakened, right? Was already damaging Mahito. Now he has better reinforcement, so better strength too, right? Because reinforcement goes all around your body, and that includes your fists. And then on top of that, now in the manga, he's black flash amped, right? So he has the same amp he had before in a stronger body with potentially stronger fists outside of like things inside of his body with these new curse tools or whatever. You know, like, well, it's not really. And also, Yuji's got a better understanding of how to damage the soul. He can even damage Sukuna's soul. You're telling me this guy can damage Sukuna's soul, but you don't think he can go one-shot Mahito? Or at least do it in a couple punches. Maybe one-shotting. I'm not even saying one-shotting like literally. Like, I'm saying it very hyperbolic, right? But if this guy's capable of ripping down Sukuna's soul, and say what you want about however weakened Sukuna's body is, it has nothing to do with how weakened his soul is.
It's just like, you know, I understand what they're saying. I agree with what you're saying here. That like the crazy Yuji glaze, he's not him yet. I mean, neither is Mahito. Or any of the disaster curses, and that's what we're comparing him to. Like, they are not them. Not even close anymore. Like, Mahito has a useful technique with idle transfiguration. And I understand, like, the Mahito domain is definitely like a win con against most people. But like, these characters are just outstatted. Like, Mahito's the only ones to hold out. Just because of idle transfiguration. Mahito took severe damage from Nobara's soul resonance as well. If you want to give Black Flash for free to Yuji, sure. But Mahito would out-hacks him. He'd split his body and use domain. He'd split his body and get absolutely slaughtered.
He doesn't use domain like off rip in character. Like I don't
like where's this
Mahito
dumping out the 0.2 second domain constantly or like instantaneously? Exactly. Doesn't exist.
Literally never gonna happen. That guy, he's got to be pushed to like some crazy point to even do something like that. And it's like, you think Yuji's gonna give that guy an opening? Yuji doesn't even give anybody openings. Like, distance has to be created by like his opponents for there even to be distance. There's that whole statement where it's like Yuji just will never stop. Like, he's just gonna keep coming at you. Like, not even pain can stop Yuji. You think Yuji's gonna give Mahito an opening out of all people? You're crazy.
The repping for Mahito, I understand, because idle transfiguration is good, and he is the one I think you could argue with domain that he could still beat a lot of characters because Mahito is a strong character. But like, it has a strong technique, I should say, that's very hard to defend against for like 99% of people. But I don't think we're originally talking about Mahito here. I think the first thing we even brought up was like Jogo. And Jogo's domain is like legitimately featless. It has been stated to maybe burn people and then does nothing. Like, if somebody wants to say Mahito can beat current Yuji because he domain opens and Yuji doesn't have a domain counter, I think that's fair enough. You know? Like the added transfiguration, if you really want to give him like every benefit of the doubt. He doesn't use domain because Sukuna would kill him. Yuji doesn't have that luxury anymore. I mean, he doesn't open it against like almost anybody. If it was that simple to just open a domain and win, why not just open his domain on Gojo?
Hey, not gonna lie, like, you guys want to go glaze Mahito, so we can say this. Would Mahito even know that Sukuna isn't inside of Yuji? Because Mahito tried to touch Yuji before, and didn't know, it was like, oh my god, like who the hell is this? Oh yeah, sure, bro, I won't touch your soul ever again. Like, is Mahito really gonna know that just by looking at Yuji for real?
I think the biggest question people say like Mahito. Hold on, the Maki and Yuji Glaze. Personally, I love this conversation because disaster curses always bring an interesting topic. But the Maki and Yuji Glaze is crazy when they don't get past Jogo. Like, do we think Jogo's keeping up with the domain and Yuta? Fuck no, not even close. Not like his entire life. He would have watched them leave him in the dust. Keeping up with a domain amped Yuta is just a feat that none of the disaster curses can possibly match. The only thing they can do is like some people have said is out hacks him, but Jogo is definitely not the character to out hacks people when his best move, Maximum Meteor, has hit absolutely nobody because it was so slow Panda could dodge it, and his normal fire attacks that he's shown couldn't even kill Naobito or a weakened Nanami in one shot. Are you being for real? Mahito trying to domain clash with Gojo? Why would he domain clash? They thought Gojo couldn't use his domain.
Mahito was not about to go domain clash with Gojo.
I don't think that's what I was
even
saying at
saw
all.
it coming too.
I'm saying if it was simple enough that like to just kill Mahito in his body everyone with like a 0.2 second domain, he would have just opened it again. Or he would have just opened it on someone else. And even when he did open it on characters like Toto, Toto was able to new shadow style it. If I remember correctly, it's been a while since I read Shibuya. Like, correct me if I'm wrong. Toto did attempt to new shadow style the domain expansion.
Toto got blitzed.
Oh, he got blitzed. Well, I'm not even arguing Mahito here for the most part because I just don't think Mahito's hacks. That's fine. The moment a character shows a new shadow style, especially like currently, like it's insane to think that these characters are that strong. They died to like weaker versions of these characters. He still lost. Mahito, with all of his effort, lost against a weaker Yuji and Toto. I feel like Jogo got humbled so hard he doesn't use the full power except for, Jogo is still faster than Maki and Yuji. In your dreams, dude. Alright, we are moving on from disaster curses. Of course, is the entirety of the stream. So for top 10, you're putting in our good old, okay, so Sukuna, Gojo, what's her face? Yuta, Maki, Hakari, Yuji, and then your 7th was Yorozu.
7th? I mean, Yorozu? So, okay, here's the thing. It completely depends on how strong Sukuna is. If you think Sukuna's weaker than 15 Finger, who Yorozu like blitzed with her form or whatever, which isn't really like that's like a please don't start talking to me about this. We could talk about it on another stream if Yorozu was fighting a going all out Sukuna or not. But depending on how you interpret it, if you think Sukuna was going all out, then yeah, that Yorozu theoretically, if she can blitz that Sukuna, she can probably blitz everybody else who Sukuna's been fighting besides Gojo. But it depends. Maybe not. Actually, no. Kashimo too.
Yeah, Kashima's definitely up there. I don't know, like I feel like the heavy hitters should be strong enough to go into the good old top 10, like every single one of them. And I agree that with Kashimo. I mean, we're talking Phantom Beast Amber. Or are we just talking base Kashimo?
I mean, base Kashimo he's just below Hakari. That's really it. Like he's low end relative to Hakari. That's really it. If Phantom Beast Armor, you have a little bit more to argue for. Not even because of his feats against Sukuna, because he doesn't really do anything against Sukuna, but it's the fact that he's way stronger than he was before, right? Like at least by like a blitz level difference, or at least near it. Because Sukuna, like while being Maguna, is able to react to Kashimo like not perfectly fine, but he's doing pretty well. Then Kashimo goes into Mythical Beast Amber, and then it's like it's not even competition anymore, you know? So it's that big of a gap.
Mythical Beast
You
Amber
know,
was the power
yeah.
up that did nothing but is everything.
It's a
Unfortunately,
it's a huge boost for Kashimo. So the question is like, okay, if he were to go fight Hakari again in Mythical Beast Amber, would he just be on the higher end of the relativity? Like, would Hakari just be low end relative to Kashimo, or would he be above him entirely? Right? Because if he's above Hakari entirely, then there's discussion about the rest of the heavy hitters because they should all be kind of around the same level.
I see where you're coming from there for sure. Do we have? I mean, I think I would put your Yorozu a little higher, just because Yorozu is supposedly having the highest output, like among the highest output of the Heian era, and then they, among the highest of the Heian era, and her True Sphere is just such a win con. Like that's the best sure hit in my opinion. Like there's no survival, absolutely none. Like we saw with characters like Sukuna, even if like with a idle transfiguration or something, or with the unlimited void, there are points you can survive it or fight back if you're stronger. But like with the True Sphere, you just die. So I would still put. I think I would put Yorozu in like my top 5 personally, especially like her outputs there. So if her outputs there, her durability should probably be there too, with the bug armor. I'm curious what you think about that.
Bug armor. This was something that was able to damage 50 Finger Sukuna after the bath. Like Sukuna was healing with the deer. I mean, we can if we can talk about Yorozu for another second, but a lot of people like to say Sukuna wasn't trying, blah blah, right? Sukuna wasn't going all out. He was just testing stuff. That doesn't really make sense for a couple reasons because I can understand like the different reasons at first, right? Like, okay, he wants to test out Maharaga's adaptation. So it's like, okay, the people say, oh, well, he's just gonna let himself get hit to test out the adaptation. So it's like, why is he trying to block Yorozu and still getting blitzed if he's trying to let himself get hit? Like, that doesn't really make sense. It's like the guy's supposed to be testing out adaptation and letting himself get hit, but he's trying to block Yorozu. So then it's like, again, if he's trying to block Yorozu and then obviously can't, that's just a blitz.
I would agree to some extent. Like obviously Sukuna is much stronger than Yorozu is, but Yorozu, I mean, highest output of the Heian era, the strongest, like having equivalent output to the strongest of the Heian era, is an amazing statement. And True Sphere is an incredible body. And I think if someone says Yorozu beats Yuji, to be honest, absolutely, she just cracks open a domain and kills him. Like her sure hit and speed. Her speed is there. Her output is there. Her sure hit is there. How refined her domain is. Definitely not more than Malevolent Shrine, obviously, because she's like, oh man, open up your shrine so you can live. There are a lot of powerful characters, so it's kind of hard to put her in the top 5 sometimes. But I think she's underrated, and I think we both agree on that. That's the last thing I'm going to say on her, though. Yuji is not punching through liquid metal and true spheres. I mean, nobody's punching through a true sphere except Maharaga when adapted.
100%. I remember I saw Elo on Twitter was talking about what if Yorozu made a big true sphere and put herself inside? I was like, bro, how is she gonna get out? Like, there's definitely a point where true sphere agenda gets a little too crazy.
True sphere is good. Like the infinite pressure is infinite pressure. An infinite amount of force coming down on you means like you're just dead unless you have hacks. Like that is good. It's hard to beat. I don't think there's any character that survives that. It's like a direct impact. Maybe Takava. Costume with the CT active blitzes everyone except Gojo and Sukuna and Maharaga. I think, like, what do you think on that, actually? Curious. On the costume of CT.
With his curse technique blitzing Maharaga, the guy who's blocking
everyone but Gojo, Sukuna, and Maharaga.
Everyone. So here's the thing. That sphere has travel speed, okay? That's a fact, okay? We see it move, it has travel speed. Inside the domain, when it's a sure hit, it's much more powerful. Saying that the sphere moves as fast as Yorozu or any other Yorozu creation is kind of crazy. Because, well, one, we'll take the bug armor, for example. The bug armor has wings, okay? Wings obviously propel Yorozu, they add to her speed. So you can't really compare something like the bug armor, which has things that it's created with to make Yorozu faster, to what's essentially just a big fucking ball, you know? Like you can't really compare that. Like, why would their speed be the same? I don't know. Don't ask me. I didn't come up with the take, and I probably wouldn't agree with it because it's
I
just
didn't
a
come
big
up with the
ball.
take. Is a great.
Like, I'm just saying, like, that's just like you really think the ball is gonna move as fast as the bug armor? Oh no, probably not, because the bug armor has wings. So it's like, how fast is the ball? We really don't know.
The
Inside the
ball
domain,
rolls.
yeah, the ball rolls. Like the thing is traveling.
A marvel. A confirmed marvel.
I just look
It seems
if
kind of
Yorozu.
shit. I'm gonna be honest, like outside the domain, but in the domain, sure hit is sure hit.
Oh, dude, that thing is powerful inside the domain. You wanna see JJK Hakari? Go touch True Sphere.
Yeah, go touch the true sphere. See, that's like touching the demon core in real life. You just die.
You just die instantly. Like infinite pressure, dude. Like oh my god, that thing is the purple that purple apparently wasn't. Like that's
Yeah,
crazy.
true sphere is everything people want Hollow Purple to be. Like infinite damage, basically Duraneg, right?
Yeah.
Unless you have your infinite durability, but I've yet to see that in JJK.
I mean, I remember people when the leaks came out that Maharaga adapted to the infinite pressure thing or whatever. People were like, "Oh my god, Maharaga has infinite durability." I
Oh, it's
was like,
so
"No, my
crazy.
god."
I saw that too. I'm glad you say that actually, because like people sometimes just pick up on like the smallest things, like for the adaptation. Like the adaptations of hacks, it's a little different. Yeah. Also, the for a while there, I mean, you and Six cooked my ancient wheel video.
I mean, I didn't think it was that bad. And at the time, I think it was perfect for what was out at
Yeah,
the time.
at the time we thought it could. Most people did,
Oh yeah,
because
yeah.
like it being a, I do think it's better on Sukuna now. Where like originally a lot of people thought after Sukuna said I've already adapted, including myself, that the wheel's adaptation went to Sukuna as well. Which makes a lot of sense. Which made a lot of sense to me, just because the wheel is like, it is the treasure. Like the ability of the adaptation is the treasure, and somehow Maharaga is sitting there just like, okay, thanks for adapting for me, Chief, and like using this one part of me when like no other Shikigami does this. It's just kind of strange to me. It's really good for Sukuna though. Like any other sorcerer is sitting there like eats one hollow purple and dies and adapts to nothing, but
Oh yeah, you definitely want a guy like Sukuna being the way you adapt.
no,
Maharaga, he would have never been able to do that. Like I'm just gonna be honest, he would have never been able to adapt to Red.
you have to have a sorcerer that is so strong. That's why I like Ten Shadows so much. It's like it gets better the stronger you are individually, which is true for like any technique. But still, like in the case of like Megami, if Megami did somehow manage to tame Maharaga, like what is this kid eaten that he's gonna adapt for Maharaga? Like Maharaga is just straight up more durable than Megami is.
Dude, that guy would have to wear like a suit of armor and then just go fight everybody. That would really be the strategy.
He has a wheel over him with a flak jacket. He just walks everywhere. All right, guys, hit me once.
Dude, that's what I would be doing. If I was a 10 Shadows user, I would just be like, you want to go punch for punch with everybody.
I think the craziest parts of the adaptation, it finishes no matter what once it has been given to somebody one time. Like once you've been exposed to it for a single moment. It goes faster if you get like the repeated exposures. But the
I
big
would be
thing,
running away. Like I'd be taking one hit from things and just start sprinting.
you just take one and you're like, all right, guys, peace. Just like let Nue fly you off.
No, 100%. And people wouldn't be able to explain it too. They'd be like, "How is he doing that?" I'd be like, I've always been like this. What do you mean?" I start lying too.
You'd never win. You'd never win against like a 10 Shadows user if like you had to kill them then and there, or your technique's worthless the next time you fight them. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's such a good ability. It's the best hacks in JJK, honestly.
The only thing about Maharaga's adaptation is that it clearly can't adapt to like too broad of things, Like it can't just adapt to like punches, for example. It'll adapt to blue based punches, but not just punch. So I mean, it's not really any and all phenomena like you think, but
I think
you
it's
know,
more like cursed energy phenomena. I think that's the
yeah,
big thing
yeah.
there.
Oh, well, that's a good question actually. You think it's gonna adapt to Maki?
Could it
You think
adapt
it
to
would
Maki?
adapt to
Maybe
Maki if
her.
it's specifically cursed energy?
It's good. Actually, it's a good question. I feel like she's pretty. She doesn't really have a kill potential on it. Like maybe the Soul Liberation Blade could like cut a Maharaga soul. And I am of the thought process that Maharaga is a character. He does smile one time. He does smile after launching Sukuna through like 5 buildings. Maybe the Soul Liberation Blade cuts into him. Any and all phenomena is a Sukuna statement, not a narrator statement. That's true. I think it's more so of the. I know people talk about this thing, and this is something I see all the time, and I bring it up when Sukuna says like, "Oh, you've shown me the way, Megumi." People talk about this in reference to like Gojo's Infinity, when really, what he's talking about is the chant, is the incantation of like, with this treasure, like It's talking about Faru's incantation of the 10 treasures, which is how he figured out the ability of the Maharaga, because he heard the Megami recite this. So like it's a pretty like for the Wheel of Dharma, all that. Quirkless, he smiled. Top 10. Yeah, everyone knows I like Maharaga. I ain't gonna lie, Maharaga is a fun Shikigami. But guys, we're probably gonna slow down the stream here because I feel the energy slowly people are getting tired. So it's just what happens around 2 hours.
It's been 2 hours.
It has been 2 hours. I mean,
I
we can
left
keep
the oven
going.
on
We can keep
the whole time.
going if you want, but
No, I mean it's up to you. It's your stream. I mean I'm having fun.
yeah, usually the power scaling conversations, like it always gets heated. Everyone's opinionated. That's why you love them. That's what you love to see. That's how it adapted. Even after adapting, he still got hurt by C&D, but he didn't die. Yeah, with the adaptation of Maharaga, like the moment it got that one unlimited void hit, unlimited void was gonna go away eventually.
I feel like people forget that where Sukuna was just like, oh, first I wanted to deal with unlimited void, then I wanted to deal with everything else.
Do you think Kenjaku and Geto have same stats? I think so. Somebody's asked. Shouldn't.
Kenjaku's probably better.
I mean, it's pretty similar. I think the data book put them in like the similar bracket. I think Broken Ronin brought that up from the data book. How much you want to trust the data book? I know people bring up data books all the time, but like sometimes things in the story just like aren't exactly one to one with them. I think it was better in Naruto sometimes. Or like the data book statements were a lot more accurate.
But they had 4 of them, you know.
I wasn't big into Naruto power scaling, but I know I've probably, honestly, the people who got me the most of the Naruto power scaling are probably like 6 in Suikage. So you have 4 of them in Naruto?
Yeah, they got 4 data books in Naruto, so they like, you know, JJK. Hell no, we don't have anything like that. We have 1 data book that doesn't even cover the very end of Shibuya.
We have to dig for like fan translations of fan Q&As to get Akatame when like they catch them outside of an Applebee's.
Oh yeah, dude, we're in the mud when it comes to translations in JJK. Like, besides looking at a picture, you're really out of luck when it comes to like 100% objective truth.
Oh, that's my favorite thing though, is when people, yeah, when you look at a picture, what's the objective truth? Yeah, I think it's you shouldn't stand on a high horse when it comes to like translations in JJK because some of that shit is just wrong. I think the most trusted translator is Lightning, for the most part, and they break it down the best.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Thank God we got them for 236.
Lightning,
truly blessed.
Lightning's good. He's accurate. I mean, the problem that I really think it is like, well, obviously English and Japanese, you know, 2 polar opposite languages. There aren't really words that translate to like exact definitions because meaning changes like depending on how the words are like combined, right? That's really the hardest part of Japanese. So it's like if it comes down to interpretation, it's like who besides the author is really going to have the best one when they're translating it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's true, and there's also some bias. I know you think like TCV has bias against with Yuta over some of the other translations.
Yeah, they got some bias. At least they made it seem like when Truth tried to go speak to them.
Yuta is, yeah, I did hear about that. They banned him from like the server or something. I mean, Yuta has a bunch of fans. You've been on the Hakari front lines for a long time. It's pretty much like the World War I front, dude. You're in the trenches in the mud, and like you look over, like you peer over the edge for like a split second, and it's just a bunch of katana wielders.
Bro, Hakari, I'm telling you, okay, him and Kashimo, as ironic as it is for both of them to be together, their agendas get worse by the day, dude. Like it gets worse and worse and worse. Like Kashimo, he's never getting another statement ever again. Hakari is being stalled by Uraume, who's just as feetless as he is. Like it's so difficult, man.
Dude, it's rough. And I know Yuta fans, I've always been a refer of Yuta Nation because I never wanted them to bite me in the ass. But Hakari glazing, I'm always here for it. I've always liked Hakari. Like I never understood the hatred of him. Especially like the way they present him as like an equal to Yuta is pretty clear. Like it's pretty cut and dry to me. Like saying that like Yuta's just being humble is kind of fucking insane to me. If I'm being honest.
Yeah, he's not. Humble guy argument. Yeah, we're not having any of that, bro. The humble guy.
Humble
argument.
guy's argument sounds like agenda central to me.
It's because it is, dude. Like they point out, they're like, oh, Yuta's giving somebody props for something. This guy's the most humble guy in the world. Like just because he credits really the only example is Inumaki. Just because he credits Inumaki, that doesn't mean he's handing out statements. He's not like, bro, you get a statement, you get a statement. Like, bro, that's not who he is. He's never once done that. Especially to like a special grade. Like the comparison that he gives to Inumaki isn't even really like a strength stat or like power related thing. It's like curse technique, like curse technique skill, It's like, oh, he's so good with his curse technique. He didn't say, oh my god, this guy's a grade 1 level curse technique user. I can't believe it. Like it's the statement's not like that.
Whenever I hear the humble guy statement, all I can think of is like the Dune scene where like he is the Messiah. And he's like, no guys, I'm not. And, like he is humble.
He's the humble guy, bro.
He's a humble guy. Yeah, Yuta,
Never
not gonna
once
lie, Yuta being humble makes him look so much dumber. Hey, Eternal Flame, I know you've been in here for a while. I think I totally forgot to say hi.
Oh, hi, Eternal Flame.
Yeah, goated YouTuber. Called the
Very
black.
goated.
Calls a lot of things. Underrated. Check him out. Or yeah, Gojo hypes up Hakari and people still call him a bum. Exactly.
He's not a bum. He's just
Statements, man. No feats. 20 chapters by 257. You know, it's not all about feats, guys. Like maybe like legitimate power scaling, like just like looking where the story's gonna have these characters usually. Like we should still. What I'm saying is you should still expect something from Hakari. And this was happening way before this whole fight went down. Like, people were calling Hakari a bum compared to Yuta for, like, eons. The Yuta agenda was actually overflowing. Like yeah, I think Yuta's definitely stronger now. But, like, saying it like it's like a new event, I just don't agree with.
I'll tell you this right now. If you want to look at like narrative for what's about to happen next, here, let me paint the same picture I painted earlier, right? You have the entire next generation who's been from the start pioneered to never be alone, right? Which directly correlates to strength, okay? And then on top of that, we have what's apparently going to be like basically the result of that goal from Gojo, like his dying wish coming to light, okay? And then we look for the consistency in that in characters, and we see that they all have like something, right, where they're the best at, right? But they are not completely overall better than everybody else around. Like, for example, Yuta's got more cursed energy than Gojo. Yuji's got punches that can damage an area that Gojo can't. Maki's got better physical strength. Hakari has better RCT. He's just as much entitled to this like fulfillment of the narrative as really, I would say, about anybody else. He's always been included in that. He's never been disjointed from those lines. It's just never happened.
Yeah, the story always treats Hakari.
Yeah, like he might have the least screen time, and he might even be the least deserving of it in all honesty, but the narrative hasn't sidelined him yet and probably never will. Even during his fight with Uraume, like it's not like if we're being honest, Yuta's probably been more sidelined than Hakari is currently. At least Hakari is still in Shinjuku.
I guess, well, yeah. Yeah, I would agree, like, in some ways he has been more sidelined. But when I talk about Hakari being strong, it's more so, like, Hakari, I still think he's going to do something. I think we should expect him to do something, because he's been set up that way. And, like, just looking at Yuta now and being like, okay, Hakari's going to do nothing, it just seems a little crazy to me. That's my main takeaway there. But, like, it's like, if you really want to see which characters are, like, Yuji Itadori is the winning agenda in Jujutsu Kaisen. That's how it will always be. But, like, people get pissed at, like, Yuji getting stronger. Yuji's gonna be the one to stop Sukuna. That's pretty much written in stone. Like, he has to fight him. Like, it's his villain.
Dude, I'm telling you right now, when the story ends and we're still gonna be able to have conversations about who's stronger than the other, because there isn't just one person at the top the way Gojo intended, like, don't be surprised.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be. I don't know if anyone's gonna, like, directly surpass Gojo for a long time. We getting a flashback or at least some explanation next chapter, right? Mr. Stream, good day, everyone. Hey, Christian, thanks for the super chat, man. Yeah, we should. I hope we get a flashback. I really do. Yuta dealing with Kenjaku, preventing a second Shibuya. They said Maki could do too. Overwhelming Sukuna, stalling for 20 chapters. Yeah, but we're not talking about just the power scaling for Hakari. We're just talking about what he should, what you should expect from him later. And Uraume, I mean, Uraume's not a bum. I mean, people treat him like that, but, like, Uraume is treated as very powerful by the characters in the story. It's right hand of Sukuna.
Monster.
Gege Akutame is not usually sitting there writing down, like, the feats of characters and just being like, oh yeah, with this punch, he now scales directly above this character. That's not usually what's happening. I still think Yuta's the strongest heavy hitter. That's not what I'm saying at all. Like, I definitely put him over Hakari. I just think we should still expect Hakari to do something. That's all. Like, the fact that that's even, like, a controversial take to, like, some Yuta fans is fucking crazy.
Like, you really think the current trend of people lacking in humanity for direct tower, when we have the guy who's probably the best showcase of that in the modern era, the outlier of that in the modern era, you really think he's not gonna have anything to do with that? You really think there's no foreshadowing to be fulfilled with something like that? You really think Yuta went to go talk to Hakari before he went to go fight Uraume, in relation to humanity, is gonna have nothing to do with what's brought up later? Like, I'm sorry, bro, you're just crazy. Like, Gege, he's definitely hard to predict, but you can definitely get a range of what's probably about to happen. You know, maybe not where it ends up.
I say the general story gonna be, for sure.
Yeah.
Like, the path there is pretty hard, but, like, when you look at the characters, you're like, okay, Gojo's gonna lose to Sukuna. Like, almost everybody thought Gojo was gonna lose to Sukuna. Actually, I take that back. Some people actually thought Gojo was going to clear Sukuna and then go on to clear Kenjaku. But, like, that was kind of a minority. Yeah, so, like, you know, the general movement of the story, like, it's not hard. It's not hard for most people to look at the story and be like, okay, Gojo's a sensei character. Okay, Yuji just said, I'm gonna kill Sukuna no matter what. And now Gojo's going up against him. I wonder who's gonna win.
I'll never forget Heavy Weather. That guy tricked entire community with fake leaks. It wasn't even April 1st.
Yeah, dude, that's probably everything you need to know about the JJK community. I think people read leaks more than they read the actual chapters these days. I mean, I think that's the definite. The fact that I still get some of, like, Mia Mur's quotes quoted to me as, like, actual chapter dialogue, it kind of confirms it.
Dude, I saw Heavy Weather's chapter summary of the fake chapter on TikTok. That's how I found out about it. I was like, what? Like, what?
If I could go back in time, there were some grand moments in JJK. Watching the Gojo glazing go on for months on end, and then him getting chopped in half in one chapter is one of the most incredibly cathartic moments of my entire life. It was definitely up there. Watching the Twitter fucking meltdown was something else. And I'm a Gojo fan. I really am. But, like, the glazing is like, I just like watching fan bases crumble. Maybe I'm a bad person, but like I love watching just like people lose their shit over anime. It is just too good.
Let me tell you something about when Gojo died, right? Me and Six, okay? We streamed once, okay? The first time we streamed during the Gojo versus Sukuna fight, we were gonna go over leaks, we are gonna go over it with everybody, like, like yeah. Dude, when that happened, Gojo got his neck sliced, okay, and like nearly died after the domain crashed. Like, like, bro, that was like the first worst time in the fight to be a Gojo fan, okay? Then I was like, oh, I guess streaming is just bad luck. I'm not gonna stream anymore. Weeks go by, months go by, right? I'm like, oh, we're gonna stream again. We stream. 5 minutes into the chapter, somebody sends us a leak, right? Like in private messages, and like obviously we can't show it because we don't want to spoil it for everybody. We can't say what it is, right? But it's just the panel of Gojo cut in half, and for the whole stream, we have to basically like pretend like we didn't see it. And I'm like, bro, there's no way. Like, I'm like, what? I'm telling you, if I didn't stream that week, Gojo might still be alive. Like, I'm just saying, bro. I'm just saying.
It's definitely up there. On the flip side, I want to make sure. So you guys did a whole stream. That's funny. Six is a funny guy sometimes. He's like got like that deadpan. So like I can imagine him trying to see. But as for like the Sukuna fans, don't get me wrong. It's not just Gojo fans. There are more Gojo fans, but the Sukuna fans, some of them on like my Twitter, you say anything about Sukuna, they do not stop glazing this guy. Like yeah, he is strong, but like saying he's gonna like legitimately win the series and things like this has become so funny to me. So like when he dies, I'm ready for their meltdown. It's like a little bit less.
Yeah, when the plot armor finally gets weakened enough, that's what they're gonna say.
When he watches like his plot mask like shatters, but knowing Sukuna, it's probably like Boros from One Punch Man, where he says, like, the power, the mask that was containing my immeasurable power has finally been shattered.
Dude, like, the more and more I think about like hey Core, because you remember in the beginning of the stream how I brought up like Sukuna's beating everybody at their own game, whatever, like he beats Maki with like physical pack. Like, yeah, okay. So I was thinking like just now, I was like, what really is like Sukuna's game, right? Because like if he's beating everybody, like, and if you think about it, it's really just standing above the people who stand alone because of power, right? That's really what he does best, and like kind of like where he performs best, in all honesty, right? Just like all of these guys with their specialty, right? But if it's that he's above like all these people who already stand alone, then that's probably just another reason why fighting together would probably break that. Like they'd probably break Sukuna out of his own game, right? Like if Sukuna is the best out of the lonely people because he fights against other people that are also lonely and just as lonely as him, and that's when he tries his hardest, then it's like fighting together is probably another aspect that's been foreshadowed through that with how they're going to beat Sukuna. And I guarantee you when that happens, Twitter is still going to lose their mind. They're going to be like, oh my god, like it's BS, like it's reverse plot armor. You're going to see reverse plot armor,
dude. Like I don't even listen to Twitter opinions most of the time. Like I don't need to hear a 14-year-old's opinion on why Maki sucks because she's a woman.
Oh my god, bro! You remind me of a Maki argument right now. No, this is actually funny. I remember for a short period of time when Maki became equal to Toji, right? People were saying, "Oh, it's just her maximizing her heavenly restriction, and the peak of a woman's strength would be weaker than a man." I was like, "Bro, you guys are insane." Like the statement says equal to Toji's, and you're like, "Nah. She just finalized her heavenly restriction. The peak of woman's strength would be weaker than the peak of men's strength." I was like, "You guys are insane."
Yeah, it's some of the conversations on Twitter get crazy. Twitter breaks people. It really does. It's like it's where all the deranged thoughts just go. You can put them in one spot. Twitter. I don't even go on Twitter. I think what's your Twitter bio? Twitter's cringe.
It is cringe, dude. Like I'm literally just on Twitter just because it's like reading the newspaper. In all honesty, if the newspaper was just actually like a community wide thing, you just see the most outrageous things. It's so great.
It is outrageous. Outrageous is the best way to put it. Or I love the one person that told no operator. They put out a thing. They were like, "Oh, look at your another dog shit opinion from someone with a failed YouTube career." And it's like, dude, no operator's just like, "This is my failed career. I can't wait to see what happens if it ever succeeds." I'm like, yeah, seriously, like, what the fuck are these people talking about?
Dude, they're just yapping. Like it's so nice to know that when I need motivation for the last push on that bench press, I can always think back to a Twitter opinion to really give me the boost talking about I really don't want to be like that.
Yeah, do you want to be that Twitter guy?
Want to be that. I had to like you would think, and I'm not even like chat for anybody who's not on Twitter. I don't even know like half of these opinions I read. I'm just like, okay, I'll say one random thing. I'll be like, oh, I think Maki, possibly might be stronger than Yuta. I get replies talking about fat fingers type this message. Your brain is leaking out your head. Like, what? What do you mean fat fingers type this message? Like, that's crazy.
Fat fingers, the chubby finger pressing the dislike button. Yeah, it is. I mean, vitriol is inherent on Twitter, and Twitter, you never know if you're catching people on a good day. And on YouTube, to be fair, people on, like, I myself, as a child, as someone who was terminally online as a teenager, like, I'm sure I left, like, a "this video sucks" comment, like, at least once in my life. But, like when I started doing YouTube, I realized, like, wow, okay, there are actually, like, people who make videos, and, like, maybe I shouldn't be, like, it is a little bit of a different perspective.
I mean, yeah. There
Like,
was what were you gonna say?
the YouTube studio put in like the three most recent comments, dude. Like you're playing fucking Yu-Gi-Oh, and you're trying not to draw into like the worst one.
Yeah. Down.
Fat fingers is insane. Yeah, you got them with that one, Jaden. It's a good
Bro,
roast.
I was shocked. I was looking at myself in the mirror. I'm like, I'm not fat. Like, bro, it's just crazy.
Yeah, dude, make your check your whole life. I love that guy. Like people called heavy weather. They're like, oh, you're fat because your name is heavy weather. Like motherfucker, that was a JoJo stand.
Oh my god, bro. Like Twitter, it's truly a remarkable place that needs to be studied. Like I think we're wasting great human research because I mean, look, if you told me that there were actual aliens walking around this planet, I'd say I know. I know exactly where they are. Like they're
Dude,
all on Twitter.
whenever you like listen to some of the comments on like Twitter or really anywhere on the internet, you start to realize, oh yes, that is the reason why things are the way they are. It all becomes so clear.
Dude, there is a guy. His name was Speedy. I think it's his Twitter tag is literally actually I won't give out his Twitter tag. Like don't go hate on the guy. But um took a screenshot of Mir's video, right? And it was Mir's video talking about like the current cycle in JJK, right? And he like just started hating on it. He was like, I don't even need to click on the video to say this, blah blah blah. And like I said something, KO said something, like everybody started coming at this guy.
Oh yeah, to jump him.
It was crazy. Like this guy's like, how are you gonna screenshot the thumbnail and title and then say, oh, this video is probably whack? Like
This video is probably whack.
like he sat down. Mir like recorded. I don't know if Mir scripted it. Probably not, right? But let's say even if you scripted a 13-minute video, because that could happen to anybody, right? Just putting out that video. The 13-minute video is roughly about like 1,800 to about 2,000 words, and you dismissed all of those 2,000 words with just, oh my god, like I can't. Just off the title and thumbnail alone, like that's crazy. That's insane.
That's so definite. Like to make a whole post about it, it's even crazier. What was the somebody asked me here, what's the worst comment you ever got? I don't have a worst comment. I have a best one though. A funniest comment was when I upload a late chapter review. I uploaded it 3 weeks late, and people are so leak cultured. I swear to God, they didn't even like some of the people that commented didn't even know the number of the fucking chapter we were on anymore. So they thought it was the next chapter, and they thought I clickbaited them. So some guy gives me a comment, and he's like, clickbait bullshit, this chapter isn't even out. Also, your voice sucks. Oh, worse than anime Ball Steve. And I'm like, dude, you are actually fucking zero IQ.
The worst comment I got, because okay, when I first started doing YouTube, I really thought about like how I was gonna go do YouTube, right? I was like, oh, I want the editing to be like this, and that. And I had an idea. I had these like moving dots moving and like the scans like jiggling and stuff, like some whack stuff, like they were just bouncing everywhere. And I was like, oh, the idea is like people are gonna be engaged. They're always gonna have something to look at. Bro, I got comments talking about you're giving me motion sickness. I was like, oh my god, no way. And they kept coming for like a month until I finally got rid of those like moving dots. And I went to go watch one of my videos myself, like on my phone. I was like, bro, that I'm getting motion sickness. And I was like, bro, that's ridiculous. Ever since then, I stopped doing those dots.
The dots. Yeah, I've had some things. I had to use things to avoid copyright. Like I use interlope footage sometimes for that, just because like it's definitely helped in like the footage for sure. As for motion sickness, I don't think your videos give any motion sickness.
No,
You
my old
actually
one.
got me to switch over to Premiere Pro, and I'm like, I'm too lazy to learn it right now. But
Oh, have to. I'll help you out if you want, bro.
oh,
I want
please
everybody
do,
to-
please do.
You and Gambler, bro. Oh, well. One second. Oh, dude, quick, 'cause you got 5 subs.
Oh, we got 5 memberships from Jamaica Queens, another legendary supporter. He's in here all the time. What is up, Jamaica? Thanks for coming in, and thank you so much for the support. It is much appreciated. Now, every time I get any new memberships, I'm like, God, no op does like whole reading classes for his like read throughs of Hunter x Hunter for his members. I'm like, what the fuck do I do? Like, give him a thumbs up
Crazy.
and like miss their comment? Actually, a fraud. Gifted another 5. Actually, how do I even properly thank that? That's like, can we get a W for this guy? Can we get a W for Jamaica? Actually amazing, because that is a W. A double W. What? You're not even a mod of my channel? What's up with that?
Reading classes for Hunter x Hunter. That's a good membership perk. That's a lot of reading. That manga is dialogue heavy. Honestly, good for.
Let's make you the managing moderator. Let's give you the keys to the kingdom.
I think I'm feeling the loneliness.
the keys to the kingdom. Here's the One Piece.
Nah, bro, I still will be in shock if Luffy goes and finds the One Piece and it's a key to the 2-piece. I'm doing cartwheels on stream.
Plot the webcams just for the cartwheels.
God.
Dude, No Op did a whole thing where he was like, what, doing push-ups for he drew things on his head. I forgot what it was. China Doll was probably there because she's in No Op stream all the time. Wasn't No Op doing something like drawing things on his forehead on like a subathon while playing the terrible Jujutsu Kaisen Curse Clash game?
I actually I have no idea what you're talking about, but it sounds very interesting.
I'm asking someone in chat if I'm pretty sure it was there. Because No Op did this whole thing where like he drew a marker on his forehead for money, as one does. I'm clowning One Piece for life if that happens. Oda played himself. One Piece is never ending. I think he played us. How long have you been using Premiere Pro, by the way? Just out of curiosity.
However long ago March of 2022 was from now.
Let me see your old videos real quick. March of 2022.
Nah, I definitely. I
Yeah,
wasn't
it's way
making videos
before.
back.
Did you have a YouTube channel before Jaded?
No. I used to, so back, way back when, me, Mir, Six, a couple other people you guys might know, we all just used to be friends. We all just used to hang out and stuff, right? But then I was like, oh, I'm just gonna try editing, and they were like, oh, we'll give you videos to edit, basically, right? And I was like, oh, okay, good. I guess while I'm learning, I'll just edit these videos. I did a video for Six, I did a video for Mir, and that's really how I started learning. But I didn't make a channel until probably a year after that, a little bit more than a year. So I already had the experience.
Hold on. That explains a lot. That explains a ton, actually. I was wondering why, because you came on, your videos were very, very well edited. I was like, okay. That's not entirely abnormal, but usually it's, it's because you had a prior channel or something. Because, people say that, YouTube is, oversaturated and things like that. I don't really agree with that at all. Like, a good content, if you make good content, people are gonna watch it. Like, people like good stuff. Like, if you throw a Mr. Beast video into like all the Mr. Beast video library into a vacuum, and you just upload it on like a random channel in a universe where Mr. Beast does not exist yet, they might not be as big as they are, but they're probably gonna do well eventually.
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely. I mean, you see the same thing even with like commercial businesses and stuff like that. It's like I can't really think of one city that already has like pizzerias open that you can't just go open a better pizzeria in and, you know, succeed. It just depends on how good what you're putting out actually is. And like achieving like higher quality, at least cuz I mean, look, competition is just relative to quality, right? Uh if you can outmatch the competition with higher quality, then it's not really competition, right? I haven't done that. No, I think everybody's just as good as me. But if you're trying to break into the niche, like I've seen a lot of people try to break into JJK content, right? Who are like, I'm talking like 5 sub channels, and like they can't, but they're not doing it like necessarily like the right way. Like, I don't know, something's just usually like off. But if you're really passionate about it, you have to learn how to do YouTube before you can do YouTube. And then like, I think at that point anybody can succeed.
I agree. I think it's just like, you know, you put effort into something, eventually you're gonna get something out of it, even if it's not necessarily the same thing out of it as someone who puts an equivalent amount of effort. Comparing yourself to someone else's effort and deciding I'm gonna put 20% in instead because you just like you think there's no point. I don't think that's worth it. I mean, I think it's just a bad idea, a bad way of looking at things. Like, people say it all the time, don't compare yourself to others, but like, it's true. Just don't.
Definitely, definitely. You gotta
Well,
be happy with your own.
lol HF, another regular here, has gifted 5 memberships. Man, crazy. 2 hours into the stream, all you guys are showing support. Thank you very much, guys. Much appreciated.
Yeah, big W's, big W's.
Big W's. Who's another up-and-comer streamer, though? Not streamer, JJK tuber, Elon-Z. He's been making great content. Nice guy, too. I know Kaio made a collab with him recently. But he popped off with a Sakuna theory video. Is really good. And it's a theory video that I love because I had the exact same one. So naturally, I'm biased.
Let me take a look. I didn't. He follows me on Twitter, but I don't think I knew he had a channel.
He's been an up-and-comer, for sure.
Let me take a look, because he's probably like the last of like the new generation of JJK people. At least that's what I've been calling them.
The last of the new.
Last of the new. Which, I mean, look, between you and me and everybody else in chat, a lot of animes are hard to break into because, you know, they kind of already have their YouTubers with their big channels, and kind of hard to compete with them because they already have their subs who are like dedicated to them and like prefer them, right? And I would say JJK is easy to break into, especially because it's like, you know, it's new, right? But it's not always going to be like that because nothing is new forever. If you're really passionate about making JJK content, you should really do it as soon as possible. Like, the best way to do YouTube is by actually doing.
Yeah, do YouTube by doing YouTube. Make a video by making a video. And like, I know it sounds so simple, but you gotta be in the game to play. Like, so you gotta play the game to play the game to be a part of the game.
Exactly.
Just how it is. It's like I see a lot of people get paralysis by analysis in anything they do in life. Like, you gotta start. That is the biggest thing. And I will say I agree with you. The new gen, there is coming a point where like people are more hesitant to collab. I know when I first started YouTube, I met a lot more. I was meeting new YouTubers all the time. Like, I met you, I met 100, Zone In No Operator, Fake Weeb, and everybody was kind of like, you know, they were all together. And like even like the people I don't necessarily interact with all the time, like Six, like we still like are subscribed to each other. We still know each other to some degree. I still interact with him on like Twitter. But now it does seem that
very friendly.
Yeah, he is for sure. I definitely agree. And I think that like JJK YouTube in general is pretty friendly. And I think people like you, Mirror, Six come from that. Like, there is a previous generation of like anime YouTube, like prior to like maybe like the Seth the Programmer time period, and like when power scaling was just a little different in general. It just anime YouTube was a little different in general. Like you had Double For Anime going up in front of a Walmart mic screaming about Naruto. Like, I don't know if that would work these days, but like anime YouTube was like it's own little niche thing. and it does feel like it is ending soon. That you're no longer going to have people coming in and wanting to collab with each other for JJK content because everyone has their friends group. And it's like when you come to a new high school, like if you switch to a new school, and all the kids are already in like a clique. That'd be what it's like. I'm sure you're still gonna make new friends on YouTube eventually, but that's my understanding of it.
Yeah, I mean, now is the point. I mean, there's a lot of new JJK fans who are looking for people to watch. It's kind of, if you've been eating at the same pizzeria for a couple months, you're kind of more hesitant to switch. Not to say that like if you're subscribed to one person, you can't watch another, but it's completely different to subscribe to another channel of similar size and then another channel that's like just brand new. Not everybody wants to try the new pizzeria, but everyone wants to go to the popular place.
That is true, but I think there is something to be said that like shared audiences are a thing on Jujutsu Kaisen YouTube. Like anime fans are very passionate, and they will watch multiple people. Like we all watch each other for the most part.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It's like we are not kids, just manga lovers. I don't think I'm saying that like the viewers, or I'm not talking about the viewers at all. I'm talking about like other creators won't want to collab with each other as much because as something gets more saturated, first of all, you don't know who's like secretly fucking deranged sometimes. Like there is always the risk that you meet somebody and they are just like super unbelievably problematic because you've only seen their content.
That's so true.
You never know who's gonna go off on Twitter one day and just say some shit that you're like, I don't want to be associated with that. And not because like this person has done anything up until now to make me think they'd say something like that. But like some people just go off. Or like they'll backstab you. You never know. And like the bigger something is, the bigger a following people have, the more you have to watch out for it, which does suck. But like usually you can tell genuine people apart, I think.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, look, I say this all the time. Just because somebody makes JJK videos or just any type of YouTube content in general, well, one, it doesn't mean that they're a genius. A lot of people like to be like, oh my, well, I saw this in this video, blah, blah, like, oh, but he's always right. Like, some people get to that point where they have like an authority, like, especially with anime, somebody would be like, oh, this guy's like kind of like an authority on this. Like, no, he's just knowledgeable on it. You know what I mean? But like, at the end of the day, he's not a genius. And like, just because you make great content doesn't mean like you're also like a great person necessarily. Like,
Oh,
you kind of really
definitely.
got to get to know people. Like a lot of YouTubers just in general will get like exposed for very like shady things. People be like, "Oh, but they never do that." Why do you think they would never do that? Because you watch them play Sonic? Like,
Yeah,
why
because
do
you
you really
watch
think
them
they
play
never do that?
Sonic. First of all, watching them play Sonic is a red flag. Yeah, I definitely agree. Like they say, never meet your heroes, and it's very true. I think it is a little bit better in the group where like if you have people on live stream and things like that is an easier way to get to understand them. And usually you can tell. Like there are people that are just a dime a dozen. Like there are like the Discord bro, the guy that always sounds like he's about to like steal all your money and stab you in the back every time you interact. Everyone's ran into someone like that. Like it just happens. Like they come out of a factory. But it's still like it gets easier to understand it. And like you said, like when people come up with shady stuff, you can be a great content creator and like a terrible person. You can make very entertaining stuff and like separate the art from the artist.
I mean, yeah. Some things you don't really have to worry about it. Like, if my mechanic had he wasn't really the most ethical guy, but he really knew how to fix cars, I probably wouldn't go to that mechanic. But I can imagine a lot of people would go if he's cheap. People don't really care depending on what you do. But for content, like people don't really want to watch a terrible person because they don't want to support that type of stuff. You know what I mean? Like, if I was using my YouTube money to do very unethical things, I would expect all of you guys to stop watching me. That'd be
Yeah.
terrible.
Unfortunately, it doesn't normally happen. But hold on, I'm gonna mention this comment. Brandon Williams, what's up, Frickless? Finally in stream. What's up, Brandon? I see you in here all the time. You're like one of my first, longest subscribers. It's always been supportive of me. Thank you very much. I want to say that. Oh, speaking of the devil, he shall appear. It is Alonzi. We were just talking about you. I'm sorry, Jay, to continue your thought.
No, wait, hang on. I want to go check out his channel because I actually did not know he had a channel.
Oh, he has a channel. Oh, he's in the squad. Nah, I'd support terrible people. You know, I'd rather. We were talking about this with No Opera the other day. Is like, of all the things to be wrong about, I'd rather be wrong about like a power scaling take than be one of the people that's like standing up there, like defending some of the actually like heinous shit that's going on in like certain anime communities.
You just never know.
For
I
sure.
mean, I don't.
Like getting
Yeah,
cooked
you
for
never know.
power scaling is better. It's like that's the fucking least important thing you get cooked for, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, at the end of the day, even when we're kids, a lot of people have this idea that's like, do teachers really have their own lives, or do they just sleep at school? It's like some people think like, what do YouTubers do when they're not, being recommended to me? It's like, they're still living their normal lives.
Watching Sam Select.
Yep, watch the Sam Sulek.
Dude, actually killing it by just being taking it back to like who was it? The other fitness influencer, Remington James. He blew up years ago. He was a wicked nice guy too.
It's always the nice people that blow up in those type of spaces.
They
It's not
should.
really like being rude isn't sustainable. Like, nah, like I promise you, it really isn't. Being
No,
funny is sustainable, but just being rude, hell no.
I think there should be, and like I think society does generally reward good behavior in the long term. Like short term gains for being like a terrible person, like can definitely help. And like you might even get like long term gains for like a very select few. But like overall, being decent to people, it's a value trait, and you see that on the internet all the time with who's popular for the most part. I mean, sometimes you have your niches. Do you sleep at YouTube HQ? Yes, actually, all YouTubers get a bunk at Google headquarters, and yeah, they put our channel initials on it, and they feed us once a month.
You get more food depending on how many subs you have.
Yeah, if you don't bring in like a set amount of revenue, they will either kick you out at worst, or like at best they cut your food intake down. Water's free. Have you guys ever seen Young Defiant? I don't think so.
Young Defiant? Never heard of him.
Your accent, Elonzi, are you French, or where does that name come from? It's from Elonzi is from Doctor Who. Yeah, he says it right there. Like China's social credit system. Yeah, that's something. All of our videos are up on Bilibili. How do you feel about that, Jaded?
They're up on what?
Bilibili, the Chinese YouTube.
Wait, what is that?
You didn't know about Bilibili? So China has its own YouTube. It's actually a huge platform, and because China has so many goddamn people, that's why every single business is trying to tap into the market of China. But they have Bilibili is a YouTube run by the Chinese government, like most of their things.
Okay.
Like not necessarily directly, like that's not like a direct oversight, but you know how China has like a giant firewall over the entire country. Like
Did not know that,
you
but yeah,
cannot
I'll
you
follow.
cannot access anything the government doesn't want you to access. So, like you'd have to use a VPN. And in
We're
China,
on there?
yeah, like to go on YouTube, you have to use a VPN. In
What?
in China, yeah, they don't have Facebook, they don't have Instagram, they don't have TikTok. Actually, no, they do have TikTok because it's Chinese. It's because China
So
has.
how do you know? Did you look?
How you know you can like you can meet Chinese people. I've had some Chinese friends before, but like they're usually like from a game or something, and they have like a VPN, and that's how they do it. Or like let's say I used to make mods for like Fallout 4, and there was a lot of Chinese modders, and they all had to use a VPN to like even upload their mods onto like American
What?
servers.
You used to make mods? You
Yeah.
code?
No, I didn't do coding. Well, actually, like a tiny,
Oh.
tiny ass bit, but like nothing ridiculous. Just like little fun things, because they have a lot of tools for a lot of games like Fallout, where you can like use their systems. There's a little bit of programming involved sometimes, but nothing substantial. But Bilibili, off top, Bilibili is the Chinese YouTube, and all of our videos are up on Bilibili, stolen and re-uploaded there, and probably monetized, because It's they just yoink it. And I'll look it up right now. Let's say jaded. Hold on.
Let me look it up.
What's your most viewed video? Let's take a
I think
look.
it might be Hakari or the Maharaga video. Billy.
What makes
Billy dot-
Hakari special grade? Let's see.
Wait, I see all
They
these
might have
channels on Billy.
taken them down. Like it's way worse. But like I know I ain't making shit, so I know they're making like pennies, and I'm allowed them to like eat. I allow them to eat my crumbs. You know, if they want my crumbs, they can have them. Like I'm not going on Billy. I don't want to. Like you can enter into like a network with Billy. I even looked at it before because you know they will let you upload. Like they will let foreign creators upload on there. But anything with the Chinese government usually becomes very. There's a tremendous amount of red tape. And there are things like you think the YouTube guidelines are bad. It ain't even close to like fucking Billy, man.
Oh my god, I am on Billy.
Yeah,
What?
you are. I didn't know you had an
What?
account on there, man. It's crazy.
You're on there too.
Oh, dude, wow, I didn't even know I was on there. It's wild. I must be working overtime.
And I can't even watch it in America. What?
Good luck ever getting that pulled down.
Dude, chat, I'm on Billy.
Any Chinese viewers, you can watch me on Billy.
Honestly, I'm honored. I just hope you guys enjoy. If you're watching from Billy.
Yeah. It's pretty funny. Yeah, we're all on there. And we're never going to get pulled off because the Chinese government will pretty much just stick a giant middle finger to you. What's copyright? Doesn't exist.
Probably not. If like
They pirates, dude. Yeah, they're like Luffy for real.
dude, they take our thumbnails in high quality. How are they doing this?
They're listen, if you're gonna be a leash, at least be like a high quality leash. Like I want the best leash possible.
Who came up with this idea? Like, okay, we're just gonna, because they're definitely in English. They're not voicing over our editing.
Probably people, and it could be Americans or like Westerners that are English speaking, and they put them on there because there are English viewers on Billy, or they might use subtitles and subtitle over them.
This is actually.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I just shattered your world with this, the Billy revelation.
I was like, what? Because I've heard of my videos being on like other websites, you know, like I don't know, like random ones, but like those ones are American. I didn't know they had their own exclusive Chinese YouTube.
Maybe you're big in China and you never knew it.
Maybe. I'm honored. How many views y'all get? Nothing. You wouldn't even make $1 off of these.
Yeah, like our content's garbage on the Billy site.
Jaded, call Drake? What do you mean call Drake? You think I'm
Drake.
dialed in with Drake, the sixth god himself? Are you crazy?
If you are, you can hook me up.
I got you.
Yeah, all right, that's good. If that ever happens, let me know. Yeah, Jaded is stunned. Yeah, he like went silent. Like,
I'm like, I'm kind of happy. I'm like, oh, at least they're enjoying it.
Yeah, that's kind of funny. I think like you might have people that have no idea it's not you. On that note, though, I think that's probably where I'm end the stream. On the talk of Billy, because we've gone off topic. I think we covered most of what we want to talk about, like Hakari versus Uraume, and then we just went into whatever for the last hour and a half. It's usually how these things go. Maybe some heated debates about disaster curses. That's how it always is.
Yeah.
But thanks for coming on, man. And if you guys have not checked out Jaded on YouTube, link in the description. I'm sure if you watch me, you probably watch him because I check my analytics. I know what you people are looking at.
It's the same for mine too.
So if you aren't already subscribed, check him out. Thank you to all who showed. Oh, you joined at the end, Alonzi. Also check out Alonzi. Plug him too. Plug everyone. It's a community. W stream guys for real. Thanks, Dice. Thanks for all showing up. Thanks for all supporting the super chats and the donations of memberships from China Doll, Jamaica Plains, and Jamaica Plains. Man, I've been playing too much Fallout. Jamaica Queens, and Lolly Chef, and Christian and Donatello for the super chats. All right, guys, that's where we're gonna end it for now. Anything you want to say, Jaden?
You guys have been overrating Jogo. That's really all.
Agreed. You've all been overrated, Jogo.